I have 1 week to not just beat every 3D Mario game, but to 100% complete them. And yes, I got this idea from Yakko CMN. Hello, if you're watching this, I liked your Sonic video a lot, it was really cool. So I documented this entire adventure, and I mean all of it. Even when I wasn't playing, I was recording videos on my phone so I could remember how I felt at that moment. But otherwise, I was playing Mario games for about 12 to 16 hours a day. And if that wasn't enough, I bought a big f***ing timer that was on screen at all times, and it was basically my doomsday sentence. There you have it. I officially have less than 7 days to finish all these 3D Mario games. This video is brought to you by Squarespace. Let's go! If you thought I was kidding about the timer, well, you can see for yourself. It's plastered on my face cam, and just like our reality, time doesn't stop for anybody. But hey, you know me, right? The Nathaniel B. Guy's Nintendo Guy channel? Oh, this will be a cakewalk for him. He's played through these games so many times in the past, there's no chance of the funny red plumber causing him any sort of stress, right? Just hit him! What the f***? Let's not get ahead of ourselves. So to lay some ground rules, I have to play every game on official hardware, and decided to play Mario 64 using Switch Online. And I even used the N64 controller just to be extra cheeky. My original plan was to just beat every 3D Mario game and not 100% them. But, you know, this is Mario 64, it's short, I decided to 100% it anyway. But at that moment, I figured that with 9 games, I would be more than busy for the whole week. But moving on to the game itself, in order to do 100% Mario 64, you need to get all 6 stars in the 15 main worlds, which includes 100 coins for all of them. There's also 15 secret stars to collect, and 3 Bowser fights on top of that. At the beginning, I was really excited to do this. Finally, oh finally, I can play video games normally for once. The first day was pretty awesome, because typically, I have a lot of daily and recurring things to worry about. But for this entire week, I had one mission, and that was to play video games and nothing else. Now, typically, I play Mario 64 in an emulator which has different button lag and movement angles compared to anything on console. Within 10 minutes, I'm already realizing that using the N64 controller that I never use may have been a really bad idea. For all I know, every mistake in second is going to count, so I shouldn't be wasting any time. And that's when the small mistakes started to happen. I wasn't following any sort of speedrun route, but I couldn't do basic tricks like cannonless. And normally I wouldn't really care, but there's a bit of a problem. Yeah, you see, there's a big, scary timer behind me which does nothing but show me that every second is precious and the clock is ticking. You might think this extra timer doesn't add anything because I can always just look at a clock, but no, this is different. I could see exactly how much time was left. And because of that, I was feeling a weird sense of pressure and anxiety, which inherently is kind of dumb. I mean, I know how this game works, I shouldn't be nervous at all, but that's just not how my brain operates. I've got very high expectations for myself, and when I start to fluster, the flustering goes on for long periods of time. But lucky for me, I didn't really play bad until about an hour in. At first, I was more or less just relieved to have the C-stick be buttons because it works perfectly for Mario 64's funky camera system. The joystick is fine on the Xbox, but when you need to turn the camera fast, it's much more accurate on the N64. The issue, of course, is the movement joystick. The angles themselves are very different from what I was used to. This became very apparent in Big Boo's Haunt and Tick-Tock Clock. I kept falling off the roof and making really dumb mistakes that wasted a lot of time, but I wasn't really getting upset or anything. I remained calm because that's what's going to get me through this challenge. And next thing I knew, I was about 5 stars away from Bowser and had just crossed the 3-hour mark. I had also taken a 20-minute break to eat, so I'm kind of surprised how decent my time is.
When Barbara switched to turbo attacks?
I broke 4 generations of family tradition with 5.
In about 3. After throwing Bowser 3 more times, I finished the game with 3 hours and 24 minutes. Okay, Mario 64 is complete in about 3 hours, 25 minutes, 2 seconds. Not bad. It's going to be our shortest game probably, outside maybe Bowser's Fury, but for now, I'm break for a little bit. I want to shower and stuff. Oh, silly me, thinking I'm gonna have time to take showers every day. Anyway, after my shower, I started Mario Sunshine. Now that we're past the game I'm most comfortable with, everything is about to get more difficult. I've played in 100% Sunshine a couple of times, but I don't actively fire this one up. But even so, I'm one of those people that actually likes this game. At least that's what I thought at the beginning. I'm busting out a second one. Don't usually do 2, but I feel like it's gonna be a late night. I mean, it's gonna be a lot of late nights trying to get all this done, so screw it. Guess I'm gonna do 2 today. Probably gonna regret it. My stomach is absolutely going to hate me. Yup, that's me, still using energy drinks as a source of energy and comfort. I should probably break that habit, or I might actually die by the time I'm 45. But anyway, in order to beat Super Mario Sunshine, all you have to do is get the 7th shine in all 7 main levels. At the time, I also decided to get 1 shine from every secret level, so I did that on day 1 as well. As I'm sure you can tell, I'm playing the 3D All-Stars version because the widescreen is a big plus, and it's just more convenient. Even if the upscaled cutscenes look like a smudgy mess, it's still better than switching out cords with the GameCube or Wii. At first, I was using the Switch Pro controller because I didn't feel like getting a GameCube adapter out. Can I do the spam thing? Oh, I can't even do the spam thing. Oh, I might actually switch to GameCube. Well, that was a 180. Like, seriously, Nintendo, how is this your only controller with shoulder buttons like this? And no, I don't count the Wii Classic controller because that's not the main one on the Wii, but anyway, I'm getting a little off track. Switching to Mario Sunshine felt really great because the controls are so much smoother. I'm very adapted to Mario 64's controls too, but the N64 joystick is horrible, and I switched to one of the most legendary controllers of all time, so of course I'm gonna be a very happy camper. To save time, I was hitting continue instead of save and continue on the easy shines simply because it's slightly faster than waiting for the game to keep track of my save file. I probably only saved a handful of seconds doing this, but it's the least I can do. Because honestly, I was starting to get worried about my pace. So we are almost 30 minutes into our run, only 6 shines. 6 shines in that amount of time is a bit concerning, but enough about that for a second. Is Sunshine still a decent game after all these years? Well, I was starting to have my doubts actually, for the first time ever. This is the only 3D Mario that I've mindlessly played, so now that I'm trying to go through it quickly, I'm noticing many more flaws than before. Like as an example, Rico Harbor. Why the f is this the second world in the game? Look at how narrow and skinny these rails are. This is supposed to be one of the beginning stages? And yes, I know that not every star requires you to run across these, but this is still kinda cruel for someone that's still getting the hang of the controls. And the pachinko machine was annoying as usual. Twice did I get all the coins and died trying to get the shine. Oh, f***. Get in there. Yeah, what? F*** you. F*** this game. I f***ing hate this shit. God damn it. Oh, f***. You know, I think my mind represses the bad parts of Sunshine, because I don't usually remember the finicky red coins in Gelato Beach, or this bullshit section in Pinna Park where the camera just chooses to turn behind the wall so you can't see anything. Like, why does the camera do this? The camera's so shit. Why do I get stuck to the fucking wall? I hate this. This is miserable. Cling onto the stupid thing, you idiot. Oh my god. And that's only the ones that I've mentioned. But despite that, Sunshine went pretty smoothly, and I ended the game at the 8.5 hour mark. So I took a quick break, did some hoverboarding, and started Mario 64 DS. Since I finished the first 2 games so quickly, my mind started to get the idea of going back and 100%ing Sunshine, but I didn't fully commit to that. Yet. So now we move on to Mario 64 DS. In order to 100% Mario 64 DS, you need to get 7 stars in each of the 15 main worlds. You'll also need to get 100 coins in those main worlds, unlock 3 characters, defeat Bowser 3 times, and find 30 secret stars. This game is one of my biggest conundrums of all time, because I love literally everything about it except the controls. It looks nice, the extra stars have some fun ideas, there's brand new levels to explore, you can play as multiple characters that control differently, it comes with touch control minigames, there's a multiplayer mode, it does everything that a remake should do, but the controls and physics just aren't very good. And if you don't get the physics and controls right, then it simply cannot top what came before it. Here's just one example of what I'm talking about. See, I'm trying to backflip and wall jump up to the star in Whomp's Fortress. This was very difficult to do because I couldn't control Mario's momentum in the air. His speed is completely locked in, and he can barely move after committing. And on top of that, I was starting to get tired of playing. I was actually getting so tired that I completed the penguin race and walked out like a dumbass without grabbing the star. But even so, progress was coming along nicely. In fact, I managed to get 30 stars on top of the 2 other Mario games from earlier.
There's a lot of ways to see the future, but tarot is the most powerful. So how does it work?
So I was feeling confident about being able to finish on time. So with that, I went to bed and was excited for the next day. Let's go! Day 2 began, and apparently I watched a Pokemon Presents before starting and didn't care for it. I probably shouldn't have wasted my time finding out that Pokemon sleep is real. Wow, fascinating. But at least I unlocked Luigi last night, which means that playing was gonna get a lot easier and faster because of how overpowered he is. Just the fact that his backflip flutters allows him to make insane jumps and get a lot of stars much faster than he normally could. To start the day off, I unlocked Wario so I could have the rest of the characters, which would allow me to get the rest of the stars. There's a handful of stars that require a specific character, of course, so it made sense to get them all so I could just clean up each stage as smoothly as possible without too much backtracking. The day was going so well, actually, that I had 80 stars and I wasn't even 2 hours into day 2. Getting up early is a blessing sometimes. I couldn't believe how quickly I was cleaning house. So I decided earlier that day to go back into Mario Sunshine to get the rest of the shines. Now, I know that sounds like a really bad idea considering how many games are left, but in the moment, I had just beaten 3 games in like a day and felt like I could do the rest of Sunshine and Mario 64 DS without any issues. So that's exactly what I did. I started by getting a lot of quick shines that I never got in Delfino Plaza, which reassured me that I was making the right choice of switching to 100%ing every 3D Mario. I even completed the Watermelon Festival on my first attempt, which is a shine that used to take me hours. And next thing I knew, I had gotten all the secret shines, and all that was left was 100 coins and the blue coins. So I started going for the hundreds. And Bianco Hills, well, it took a while. 100 coins in general takes a long time in Mario Sunshine, and at this point I was really hesitant on continuing this. But for some reason, I decided to keep going and just see how far I'd get. To save time, I pulled up a blue coin guide on my phone and set the speed to 2x so I could watch the video faster and find the blue coins as quickly as I could. If I'm doing this marathon, I might as well just go all out, right? The conflict of going for 100% or just beating the games was slowly sinking towards just beating them after like an hour of going for 100 coins in Sunshine, but here's the thing. I already made the commitment to get those shines and I already got some of them. It would be dumb if I didn't finish at this point. But then we get the Gelato Beach's 100 coins. Look at all those coins. Look at all those coins I'm missing. No! I just missed all of those coins. Shit. Like I said, getting 100 coins sucks. I actually had to restart this shine because there weren't enough coins for me to grab after missing so many. The coins from enemies despawn after like 2 seconds, which is incredibly unfair when you get attacked by the bees and aren't able to move. After spending an hour getting 100 in blue coins, I decided to switch back to Mario 64 DS. Switching to this game was a godsend for my sanity. Not only was I getting stars way faster, but my mood improved too. And the coins last for a long time too. Like seriously, I'm given a fair amount of time to collect them. Wow, what a crazy concept. I managed to play for almost 15 hours and ended the day with 138 stars. How in the hell did I pull that off? I actually can't believe how quickly I was moving through Mario 64 DS. Because this was a mostly successful day, I decided to sleep on the idea of actually 100%ing all the games. Let's go! I woke up and made the final decision. I was actually going to try to 100% all the games as of now. Just as we were approaching the actual day 3 mark, I was really concerned about the very last secret star. What I basically needed to do was catch 8 glowing rabbits. These rabbits unlock the mini games, but also unlock a star. The thing is, I wasn't sure if I was going to get these glowing rabbits because I already unlocked all the mini games on this cartridge. So when I got to 148 stars, I was starting to worry that this wouldn't be possible to do. That's because I couldn't find a single rabbit, and I need to find ones that are glowing white. The reason I thought they weren't spawning was because I had already unlocked all the mini games. Heck, I deleted my 150 star save file in desperation, and that still didn't spawn the glowing bunnies. But it turns out I just had to talk to the toad in the rec room, and he's the key to spawning them. So now that just means the grind is on. Now, grinding something in a marathon. I mean, that's gotta take a long time, right? Well, not exactly. There's a way to catch these little buggers quickly. You leave the main castle doors as Yoshi, check for a glowing rabbit, go back into the castle, and do this over and over again. After a few tries, I saw a glowing rabbit, which means I can actually 100% Mario 64 DS. I just needed to get 8 rabbits, so it didn't take as long as you'd expect. It's not like shiny hunting in Pokemon. The odds of you finding a glowing rabbit are much higher than I remembered it being. So I got 150 stars right at the official day 3 mark, which meant I had the entire day to 100% Mario Sunshine. And things were going just about as well as they could. 100 coins and blue coins were taking
come fly with
random amounts of time. It really depended on the stage I was playing. Pinna Park's 100 was a piece of cake, but then you got the blue coins in Noki Bay. They really put these in the most shitty, obscure spots imaginable. Even with a guide, it took me a while to get them all. But 4 hours in, I actually did it. I got the missing blue coins, did the stupid durian fruit mission, and gave my blue coins to the bear so I could 100% Mario Sunshine. But my day was nowhere close to done. After a very short break, I started Mario Galaxy and was praying to the gods that I could make a lot of progress. In order to 100% Mario Galaxy, you need to get 121 stars. To do that, I'm required to collect 6 to 7 stars in 29 major galaxies, as well as go to 13 other minor galaxies that have 1 to 2 stars each. The only thing I won't be doing is replaying every star as Luigi, because it's literally the same levels, which is pretty redundant if you ask me. And let's also keep in mind that there is a lot of video game left, so I have no choice but to skip out on Luigi. Now, if you've played the Galaxy games, you already know that they're slower paced and you can't skip any cutscenes. This was by far the biggest problem with the entire challenge. It wasn't dying in levels or playing bad, no, it was the loading times. Now, maybe you think I'm exaggerating a bit, or just overthinking. Well, boy do I have some news for you. Every time you grab a star, you're forced to watch Mario be all dun 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 dun, and then the screen fades out, Mario goes back to the hub, he's like, oh, yeah, and ba-da-da-da-ba-dum. And this entire segment happens 121 times. And do you want to know how much time this wastes? Well, I added up the total time for this one segment, and it was 17 seconds. If you times that by 121, you get 2,057 seconds, or around 34 minutes. Doesn't sound too bad, right? Well, that's not all. Let's not forget that you also have to go back into the level itself, pick the galaxy, select the star, and watch more unskippable cutscenes. The time that this takes varies a little bit, but it's roughly around 23 seconds from selecting a galaxy to actually playing the game. That times 121 is 2,783 seconds, which is around 46 minutes. That totals up to around 80 minutes. And let's not forget there's a bunch of other cutscenes that happen throughout the game that we can't skip. I have to mash through the coin screen, the star bit screen, if I want to save the game or not. That basically means that I'm losing anywhere from 90 to 100 minutes on just the game loading. Now, normally, this wouldn't be that big of a deal, but it's a huge problem for the marathon that I'm doing now. I need as many time saves as possible to make this all work. Now, I know that all sounds overwhelming, but that wasn't really the case. In fact, things mellowed out quite a bit. My gameplay went pretty well at the beginning, but I was not. Only into day 3, I was so drained from playing video games under this kind of pressure, and we're not even halfway through this thing. I was also getting tired of listening to Mario game music, so I loaded up some random stuff on YouTube. On this day, I chose to listen to Noteblock's 2022 music compilation. I think I played the entire thing like 3 times in a row, so you're welcome for the watch time, I guess. Since Galaxy is such a slow-paced game, I was running on autopilot, and my mind was drifting off into all sorts of weird shit, such as how my life the past 10 years has been extremely unusual compared to most human beings, and I was at the tipping point of having existential thoughts. But instead of that happening, all I wanted to do was play other video games. Splatoon 3's first wave of DLC dropped during the marathon, there was a bunch of new stuff in Salmon Run that came out, and I couldn't do any of that. No, I'm stuck playing Mario Galaxy for the 10th time. Never have I felt so trapped with work in my life. Playing these games felt like a chore for the first time. But despite all of that, things were still coming together. I wasn't getting stars as fast as I wanted, but I was trying my best to save time where I could. Another thing I was doing was getting a lot of star bits in the levels. That's because you need a total of 6,000 star bits for all the Lumas combined outside each room, and I don't want to waste time grinding for star bits at the very end, so because of that, I had to play some levels slower, but in the long run, I think it was a good strategy. I was trying to at least reach triple digits with stars before going to bed, but I wasn't there yet even when it was midnight. But I had one thing going for me at least. I maxed my life count without realizing it, so that's kind of cool. I ended up getting 101 stars by the end of the night, and that was it. At that point, I had been playing for almost 15 hours and really needed some sleep. Before bed, I hopped onto the hoverboard and tried to contemplate how on earth I was going to finish all these games. It was at this moment that I realized how much of a mistake going for
These new Little Caesars Crazy Puffs are fun size.
And perfect on the go.
You hear that, Buttercup? We can go anywhere.
100% was. And it's like, you know, I knew it was a bad idea from the get-go. I've 100% all these games in the past. I remember how long they took. Why on earth am I doing this to myself? Let's go. I'm tired still. Boy, oh boy, am I ready for another fun day of gaming. I'm still not done with Galaxy, which means I need to f***ing cook today. I gotta finish this game and haul some booty in Galaxy 2 if I want to stand a chance to finish on time. Thankfully, I was cruising through the remainder of the Purple Coin Comet, and after finishing the anticlimactic 121st star, Mario Galaxy 1 was finally complete. And that was it for Mario 3D All-Stars. It was time to hop into Mario Galaxy 2, which means we're switching to a much lower resolution because the only way we can play it authentically is with a Wii or Wii U. So I fired it up on the Wii U and got my Wiimote and nunchuck ready to go. The big hurdle for completing this game is the green stars and comet medals. The only strategy I really had was to get the comet medals on the first attempt. That way, I would never need to re-enter a level after getting its initial star. And then, of course, use a guide for the green stars so I don't waste time looking around. Mario Galaxy 2 has 122 stars spread across 49 galaxies, and each area has 2 to 3 stars per galaxy. But that doesn't include an additional 120 green stars, which is also 2 to 3 stars per galaxy. And let's not forget that I need to max out my star bit counter to unlock the final galaxy in the game. So that's quite literally twice the amount of content, and I still have 4 games after this one. Like last time, cutscenes are a massive hurdle. I decided to time out how long they take once again, so I could get an average on my time wasted. And the results... oh man, the results are really scary. Once you collect a star, fade out of the galaxy, fly back to Starship Mario, and get access to pushing A again, that takes around 19 seconds. With 242 stars to collect, that gives us a grand total of 4,598 seconds, or 76.5 minutes. While that sounds really bad, it kind of balances itself out. Since you don't really use Starship Mario for anything outside of entering the galaxies, you'll get Mario to levels using this simplified UI instead of running around the Comet Observatory, which is obviously going to be faster. But even still, time gets wasted watching Mario fly into a stage, selecting a star, and waiting for more unskippable intro cutscenes to play out. This on average takes around 25 seconds, assuming you select a star quickly. So times that by 242 and you get 6,050 seconds, or almost 100 minutes. So without including Galaxy 2's other unskippable cutscenes, the Grand Star cutscenes that take extra long, or clicking through the coin/starbit/save screens, we lose almost 3 hours of time. And you know what's hilarious? You can actually skip the Galaxy opening cutscenes, but only after dying or completing the star already. So Nintendo had the courtesy of letting us skip cutscenes, but only after we're forced to watch them. Thanks, Nintendo. Thank you. But anyway, since I started Galaxy 2 so much earlier in the day compared to Galaxy 1 yesterday, I'd gotten around 40 stars and there was quite a bit of daylight to burn still. I also looked up that green stars wouldn't take as long as I anticipated. It'd probably be around 3 to 4 hours considering you don't play that much of the original level to reach them. So things were looking good, despite the fact that I was completely exhausted and felt like death. I was on track to finish the main 120 stars and at least get started with the green stars. At this point, I had a goal in my mind that I wanted to execute and follow through with, which led to more pressure, which in turn led to me losing my patience. I was starting to get into the harder galaxies, and even when making simple mistakes, I was getting really mad. And here's the thing with that. If you knew me in person, you'll know that I don't really get mad at anything or anyone. The only outlier to that is video games. This is the one thing that makes me angry because I hate making mistakes and wasting time on something that I already sink so much of my life into. And I think because I'm already over 4 days deep into this challenge, I was getting more angry than usual. And I thought that was a good thing, because sometimes getting angry at games makes me play more efficiently. And in short spurts, it probably does. However, for this marathon, it was a pretty big drawback. Getting mad was making me play slightly worse than normal, but I couldn't really control my mood. The constant loading screens was making me lose my mind and I wanted it to be done, so for about an hour this day, I was getting really upset at the mistakes I was making. And it also doesn't help that my cursor was being extremely finicky for some reason. It just kept shaking around and wasn't very accurate, and I have no idea why. I didn't have anything blocking the sensor, so maybe my remote just isn't that great anymore from age? I don't know, but it was becoming a problem because I really needed to get starbits as I was going. Like with the first game, I still have to feed Lumas and I need them at the end of the game too. In fact, I need more than the first game. Galaxy 1 requires 6,000 starbits for every Luma, Galaxy 2 is 8,500. Why it's so much more is beyond me, because that is just obnoxious. After getting mad at levels some more, I trucked through and finished the final boss about 11.5 hours into day 4, but I still wasn't done for the day. I really needed to get to 120 stars, and holy shit was I so over it. When I'm only playing games and doing nothing else, eat, sleep, game, repeat, remember that? Everyone knows that stupid ass cringe shirt? That's me right now, and I don't want to be that person anymore.
Are you good?
That has to be the saddest thing I've ever said in my life. But that was the least of my worries. After getting all the stars I could get, I still didn't have enough starbits for the Lumas. I had no idea what I was gonna do, so I decided to talk to the Green Toad. And that's when I learned that you can share starbits with other save files. Oh my god, because by pure coincidence, I had another completed save file. So I was actually able to transfer starbits over. Talk about a lucky break right there. So after finishing up and beating Bowser again for some arbitrary reason, I actually got 120 stars in one day. It was at that moment that I decided to just get a few green stars to finish up. Let's go! I got up late because my body decided to catch up on sleep, and I immediately got started on the green stars. My pace for each world was around 35 to 40 minutes, but I'm once again bogged down by even more loading screens. Every time you're about to select a star, you see this prankster comment incoming message, and you can't skip it. It adds an extra 3 seconds, which wastes an additional 720 seconds or 12 minutes. So while it's not the worst thing ever, that extra 12 minutes feels so much longer when you see it again and again and again. Especially since a lot of the green star placements are put in painfully similar spots. Just look at Slipsand Galaxy as an example. This first green star is down this sand waterfall thing, and the second one is quite literally an extra 5 seconds farther out. And the third one is in the same area as the second one. Why does the game kick me out of the galaxy entirely if it's gonna be like this? Could it have not at least respawned me at the last checkpoint or something? Anything better? The real issue today though is the fact that I did wake up late. Just getting up an hour or two later than I usually do means that I'm going to be forced to play a lot later into the night, or I'll have to get up extra early one of these days to catch up. My only saving grace was the green stars in Boss Blitz Galaxy. And you want to know why? Because for some reason, I can skip the boss cutscenes. even though I haven't gotten the green stars yet or died, I'm just allowed to do that for this one galaxy for some reason. And also, I didn't need to max out my star bits to get the perfect run unlock because I guess the other save file already did that? I honestly don't understand how this game works, but me silly am I not complaining about that. Surprisingly, I only died a few times on the perfect run, which means I finally finished getting 100% in Super Mario Galaxy 2. After having a meeting with my partner manager and eating, I finally started Mario 3D Land. I was so relieved to have moved past the Galaxy games, because at least everything else from here on out isn't slow and laggy. In order to 100% Mario 3D Land, I have to complete 96 levels, collect all 285 star medals, and touch the top of every flagpole. There's 3 star medals in every level, plus a couple of random ones in mystery houses here and there. So in order to beat this game as efficiently as possible, I need to get all the star medals on the first go for each level and try to die as little as possible. To unlock 8 Crown, the final stage, you're supposed to replay all the levels as Luigi as well, but I'm not going to be doing that for the same reason I skipped it in Galaxy 1. It's completely redundant. And also, it's day 5 and I'm running out of time here. But I'll of course still finish the last secret level. Thankfully, Mario 3D Land is a lot easier than the Galaxy games. It's a huge relief that I'm past all the other games, which are notably more difficult. 3D Land is kind of like the breather of the challenge, which also makes it a bit boring, but I don't mind at all. It's pretty common to play an entire level in 3D Land, and once you leave, you have no idea what you just played. It's not that the game isn't fun, but since there's no theme for each world and the levels themselves aren't very distinct, it's hard to remember what you actually played. I've gone through 3D Land like 5 or 6 times before, and I still can't remember the majority of the levels. Thankfully though, I was really cruising. I got through the first half of the game in a few hours, but I was mentally suffering. I was just so tired of playing Mario games. It feels like I'm being chained to a cog in a wheel, being tested on my willpower and patience. I think a lot of these feelings has to do with the fact that 3D Land is such an average Mario game. Things should get a little bit better once we get to 3D World. But that's really all I have to say. I ended the day beating most of 3D Land, and I was feeling pretty good about being able to finish 3D World very quickly tomorrow. I speedrun this game a couple years ago, so I should still have some of my skills from that. So while I didn't make quite as much progress as I wanted to, it was as far as I could mentally go without falling asleep.
Let's go.
So it's day 6. Got about 3 hours of sleep. This challenge is actually stressing me out so much that I'm not sleeping. Don't you all love days like this, when you're so stressed about something that you wake up early, you can't fall back asleep, and since you're already awake, you just start the day like everything's peaches and cream? Hooray for sleep schedules! Woo! So, as you can imagine, I say virtually nothing while finishing 3D Land. I am quite literally running on pure willpower at this point, just trying to take advantage of this pocket of time where I'm able to function. When I got to the final boss fight, this happened. Cool, we did it. This is my reaction, a f***ing yawn. This game is just, that sums up the whole game. I beat it, I'm done with it. How do I react? I yawned. I kid you not, I was so tired that I cleared the entirety of S8 Crown on the first try, only to start walking on the thank you blocks and dying. If that doesn't speak volumes for how draining this whole challenge is, then I don't know what does. Now that that was over, I moved on to Mario 3D World. And of course, I picked the Switch version because all the characters move faster, but also because I can skip the cutscenes. Oh my god, Nintendo, you mad lads! Wow, truly innovative idea. Let's go. Yeah! But anyway, to 100% Mario 3D World, you need to complete 117 levels spread out between 12 overworlds, touch the top of each flagpole, as well as collect 85 stamps and 380 green stars. The only thing I won't be doing, as I'm sure you can guess by now, is completing each level with all 5 characters, because once again, it's very redundant to do that. So while I do need to collect a lot more things this time and there's more levels, just the fact that the game is paced better is gonna make it much easier to get through. Plus, once you collect a green star stamp, area, you have it for good. So if you die getting one of these items, it's not a big deal at all. You just have to clear the level and you'll still have the collectible. Plus, the other characters are more fun to use, the power-ups are more interesting, the levels themselves are more unique, the music is nice, just everything I could possibly want right now is here. The only problem at this moment is that I'm still running on 3 hours of sleep. So at some point, I stopped playing and went back upstairs for a nice 3-hour nap. The nap still wasn't enough sleep, but at least I was feeling a lot better and was able to continue on with the day. In fact, I got through the entire game in one day. Even Champions Road wasn't that much of a problem, mostly because I figured out something that I somehow didn't consider doing until this very day. The only section that drives me crazy in Champions Road is all the ant troopers on the red blocks. Why not just smack them away with a Tanuki tail? This game's been out for almost 10 years. How have I never thought of doing this before? But anyway, 3D World is done. Now I just have 2 games to go. The goal for tonight was to just finish the main game for Odyssey and go for all the Power Moons afterwards. We are so close to the end now. Can it actually be done despite how little time is left? Let's go! This is it, the final day. After a few hours, I finished Mario Odyssey and just needed to go for the post-game stuff. The order that I wanted to get everything in was purple coins, power moons, and costumes. With guides pulled up on my phone, this seemed very doable considering I still had like 20-ish hours left. But once I reached 300-ish moons in Lake Kingdom, I was starting to get worried again. Sand Kingdom took like 2 hours to get everything, so I really wasn't sure if I was going to have enough time. I mean, how many damn moons are there? Well, we'll get to that in a bit. The reason these moons were taking so long is because so many of them require you to backtrack to kingdoms multiple times, or you have to wait for things to happen, like these nut plants to grow, or you need a specific costume for some specific person for some arbitrary reason. There's just way too many moons in Mario Odyssey. I really wish the game's levels were smaller and had less to do, honestly. I think Bowser's Fury struck the perfect chord of being open world, but also offering a meaningful platforming challenge. A lot of those cat shines are samey as well, but at least I have to put in effort to get them. With Odyssey, it's just a ton of running back and forth and warping around the map to get places faster. In fact, it almost feels like Mario Galaxy again with how much of a slog the post-game is. And I should rephrase that it feels like this because I'm still under a timer, which is getting dangerously close to the end of the day, by the way. See, when I 100% this game for the first time, it was an incredible experience because I was going at my own pace. But even then, I was tired of all the moons by the end. But then I discovered the dark, cold truth of my situation. There's a reason I haven't explained to you how to 100% this game yet, because I completely forgot how much shit's in this game. I originally thought that there were 500 power moons total, because that's how many you need to unlock Darker Side. Well, guess what? Oh, I could not have been wrong. I could not have been more wrong. No, there's actually 880 unique power moons. And that's not even every collectible. There's also 1,000 purple coins, and then there's the costumes. Oh my god, the costumes. See, I knew the costumes were gonna chew up a lot of my time and coins too, but I did not realize.
All rise for Fantastic Baseball.
How much the DLC adds things up. Not including costumes you get from purple coins, we have to unlock 64 costumes, which cost us a grand total of 97,098 coins. God damn! And let's keep in mind that even if we get all 880 unique power moons, we still have to buy extra ones to get 999 power moons just so we can get the stupid hat on Peach's castle. So that means we gotta get an extra 119 power moons at 100 coins each, and that cost us an additional 11,900 coins. So to do everything in the game, you need a bare minimum of 108,998 coins, and that is assuming you die 0 times, which takes away 10 coins. This game is f***ing sadistic for completionists. Now, there are decent ways to farm out coins in Odyssey. You can play Luigi's Balloon World, or repeat this one sub-area over and over again, but it didn't matter either way. It was quite literally impossible for me to 100% Odyssey realizing how long the game is. Even if I played for 16 to 18 hours a day instead of 12 to 14, I don't know if this is actually possible unless you know how to speedrun every 3D Mario game at a high level. That is the only way I can see this being feasible at all. So So what did I end up doing? Well, the only option I had left was to at least get all the purple coins and get 500 power moons to unlock all the levels. I also unlocked a few costumes, but that was all the time I had. This alone took quite a few hours, and I didn't end up finishing this until past midnight. And guess what? I'm not done yet! I still gotta complete Bowser's Fury! And thank God, this game is short to 100% and I can easily get all 100 cat shines. The last good thing going for me here is the fact that when Bowser's Fury came out, I tried speedrunning it for a couple of months just like 3D World. Now, do I remember a lot of the strats? Nope, not at all, but at the very least, I still have the general skill set to be able to play quickly and well without many mistakes. I finished the game in a little over 3 hours, and I don't have much to say about it. I was completely delusional at this point.
We bounced and trounced in the clouds. That's right, we trounced them. 10 more to go, and then I am f***ing free. I'm free. 10 more shines.
As you can imagine, I just wanted this to end so bad. But after getting 100 cat shines and defeating Bowser one more time, it was finally over. The end of this challenge was done, and even though I couldn't technically finish every game 100%, I got just about as far as my body would let me. The only other thing I can do now is talk about Squarespace, which implies.
Do you want to be a YouTuber, but don't have a high-end computer, editing program, or others? No worries.
2 weeks may sound like a long time to 100% all the 2D Mario games, but that's because we're including all the mainline games, most of the Game Boy variants, and Super Mario All-Stars since it's a full-on remake. Going for 100% in a lot of these games takes much, much longer than you'd imagine. So we're in for quite the ride. And I say we because Simple Flips was crazy enough to join me for this venture. We streamed the entire thing together and raced to see who could finish all the games first. If for whatever reason you don't know who Simple Flips is, he's incredibly good at 3D and 2D Mario games, so I expect to lose this race. But hey, who knows what'll happen, right? Before going in, I needed to plan way more than the other marathons that I've already done. I created this entire spreadsheet that has guides for alternate exits, hidden coins, and secrets. This guide may be the only reason we'll be able to 100% all these games. I've honestly been nervous about this for months. I was exhausted after a week of playing 3D Mario, and then Mario Kart. What the hell is 2 weeks of this gonna be like? Well, let's find out. The first day has finally arrived, and this was the one I was most worried about. Simple Flips and I began, and this insane marathon has started its course. To 100% Super Mario Bros., it's really simple. Beat all 32 levels without using any warps. I'll also be using the same controllers the game's console was on. Now, thankfully, I've beaten this game quite a few times in the past. So while I'm used to SMB1's wonky physics, they still took me a bit of time to get the hang of again. This marathon dynamic is much different compared to the other ones I've done, because I had Simple Flips on call with me the whole time, and immediately I noticed my mood was better than usual because the both of us were going to be clawing our way through these games together. As for the game itself, I mean, we've all seen it and played Mario Bros. 1 100 times. It's not the greatest game to go back to, especially because so many levels look the same and the jumping momentum can be super clunky. While building speed and running feel fine, jumping is tricky because Mario will kind of lock in place depending on how fast he's going. It's like this in most 2D Mario games, but the physics have been heavily polished as the decades have passed. And the springs are also very inconsistent. It can sometimes be hard to tell how much distance you'll cover after jumping off one. Also, if you get a game over in this game, you go back to World 1-1. Well, at least that's how it works if you don't know that you can hold A on the title screen after a game over, because doing this sends you back to the world that you died in. So even though the game's save system is BS, it's not the most unfair setup in the world. Simple is not used to SMB1's mechanics and ended up getting a game over fairly early on, but I actually didn't have my first death until 5-4, so I was pretty happy with the progress. But this is not the game that I'm worried about. Anyway, after like 30 minutes, I found my way at World 8. I was cooking along at a good pace, but then I got to 8-4. This level really isn't that bad, but the Hammer Bro right before Bowser is super hard to predict. So I finally got to him, and yep, I died. Okay, cool. That's the first game over, but at least I can start at 8-1 compared to 1-1. After a couple more game overs, I jumped over that Hammer Bro, and then somehow avoided Bowser's hammers, and just like that, was already done with Super Mario Bros. 1. It feels great to have finished this game so quickly. In fact, it only took 58 minutes. But this was just the warm-up. Yup. Next up is Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels. This one game is why I was dreading this marathon. To 100% the Lost Levels, I need to beat the main 32 levels without warps, then beat 9-1 through 9-4, get a game over in 9-1 to unlock worlds A through D, and then beat those. This equates to beating 52 of the worst Mario levels ever conceived. I've been so terrified of getting stuck in this game during the marathon that I actually played through it a few times before the marathon even began. This is one of my most hated Mario games of all time because of how awful and cruel the level design is. First off, for a sequel, it does virtually nothing new to make it better. The wonky physics are the same, and the themes are mostly the same as well. There's no new music, or enemies, or bosses. It's basically just an unfair level pack. The BS begins at World 2-2. Like, look at this huge gap. Seems like you gotta make quite the jump to clear that, right? Nope, wrong. Instead, you gotta hit two completely random invisible blocks and then make your way across. The game gives you no clues to do this. You just have to assume that if you're stuck, just jump around like an idiot till a block shows up. And maybe it's just me, but the hitbox collision seems to be even worse than the first game. Like, look at this. In 2-4, I died jumping on a Goomba. Like, how does that even happen? But look, the first few worlds, they aren't too bad, so I was at least getting through them somewhat quickly. World 4 and beyond is where things get incredibly dumb. Look at this jump in 4-3. There's a Koopa that is barely in view, and I have to jump perfectly so I bounce off him to reach the other side. What is this? A bad Mario Maker level? Oh, wait a second. That's the entirety of the Lost Levels. It's just a compilation of bad Mario Maker levels. By the time I was at World 4, Simple Flips wrapped up Mario Bros. 1. I was kind of surprised to be this far ahead of him, but I have a feeling that both of us are going to be stuck in the Lost Levels for quite a while. But honestly, I think I got this. The goal for the marathon isn't so much to beat the games in 2 weeks, but to hold my composure. For the 3D Mario and Mario Kart marathons, I had a horrible time maintaining my sanity. But this time, I want to get through this without having a rage fit. I eventually got to World 5, and oh boy, they added wind! That's probably the biggest thing they included, and it's also incredibly annoying. You just have to know the wind is coming and already have your jumps planned out in advance, or you're not gonna make it. Then let's talk about 5-3. This level will infinitely loop if you don't know that you need to get up to this pipe and then go down it. Again, there's no context clues to do any of this dumb crap. Oh, and then 5-4 is filled to the brim with fire bars and incredibly tight jumps. This was where the struggle began. I got game overs more times than I could count. Messing up an individual level wasn't even that painful. It was getting kicked back to the beginning of the world. It just felt like I was wasting my time replaying levels I had already beat, only to make a few small mistakes and then, uh-oh, gotta retry it all again. And when you play the same thing over and over like this, it's really easy to slip up more and more. It's a very common trait in games. The more tired you get seeing the same thing, the easier it is to make mistakes. But eventually, I got through World 5 and was pretty ecstatic. But I'm not even halfway done yet. Just look at my screen. This is 6-1 in a nutshell. 6-2 is complete nonsense the whole time. The bloopers and Cheep Cheeps are sometimes in spots that are almost impossible to avoid. Then we've got 6-3. The Cheep Cheep hitboxes are so broken that I died just jumping on top of them. Oh, and also they added this block with a mushroom in it, and the only ground underneath it is a paratroopa. Wow, very cool, guys. And then finally for 6-4, you gotta take specific paths to get across, or you'll keep looping the same sections over and over. The most terrifying part of 6-4, however, was Bowser's Flames. They're completely random, and there's lots of jumps where you're supposed to fully commit to them, but you also have to pray that the flames don't get in the way. After lots and lots and lots of trial and error, I did finish World 6, but not after taking a beating. At this point, I felt like I understood the game's mechanics and just needed to stay persistent with whatever dumb things were thrown at me next. World 7 wasn't as bad, actually. The main issue was with 7-4. There's a bunch of lifts that go up and down, and you need to quickly jump across them to survive. However, the timing of the lifts can get thrown off sometimes, which makes jumping across them impossible. And I have no idea why the game would do this. It was a pain to put up with. But World 7 really didn't take as long as I thought. I got through it and moved on to World 8. This level brings the BS back at full force. In 8-2, you'll loop infinitely if you don't know that you're supposed to hit this block by bouncing off the paratrooper to escape. Oh, and while that's happening, there's a Hammer Bro that chases you down, but at least you can use stars to take him out, so there's that, I guess. And then there's 8-3. Ugh, this one's not any better either. It's filled with Hammer Bros, and you have no choice but to rely on a bit of luck to jump over and under them in the hopes that their patterns are consistent. There's also a very tricky spring bounce to make where you have to bounce off a paratrooper, and at the end, you can only get across by spawning 2 invisible blocks. Then you gotta move this lift as high as possible, and then you can finally clear the last jump. And 8-4, oh my god, this one is so freaking long. It's filled with so many stupid jumps, 2 Bowser fights, and so many more shenanigans. I can't believe I've spent this much time talking about the lost levels of all things, but I'm dumbfounded at how awful the level design is. You need to understand. I for sure spent the most time in World 8, because stringing this all together was nothing short of a nightmare. I originally estimated that the lost levels would take 4 to 6 hours to finish, but I was already 8 to 9 hours in. But then I cleared it. I finished World 8 and only felt mildly relieved, because I still had 5 worlds to go, and Simple wasn't far behind either. He was working on World 7, so we're basically neck to neck. World 9 was an interesting one though, because it's not hard. In fact, I cleared it with almost no trouble. The levels here are the most Mario Maker-esque of them all. The backgrounds make no sense, and you'll also swim in areas that you normally don't swim in. So after like 5 minutes, I made it to World A, and at this point, I am so done. I don't care if levels are annoying. I'm just running on pure adrenaline and trying to power through the best I can. I barely even remember these levels, and it's hard to distinguish them because all the themes and music are the same as before. In fact, half the levels are the same as the previous levels, but they just add a couple of things to make them slightly harder. I can't express to you how excited I am to escape this game and move on. I'm kind of wondering if I'll ever play Mario 1 or the Lost Levels ever again in my entire life. But after a few more hours, I struggled through the rest of Worlds A through D and finished. Oh my god, the Lost Levels was a freaking nightmare. It took me 11 hours and 19 minutes to finish. Despite all that, I was feeling really good about the day, but man was I drained. Before ending for the night, I started Super Mario Bros. 2 for a little bit of relief. To 100% Super Mario Bros. 2, I need to beat all 20 levels without warping, and I was pretty pumped because I love this game. I get to play as Peach and Float, the bosses like Birdo and Mouser are actually fun and engaging, there's brand new music, and the controls are a lot better. I got all the way to World 3-2 and decided to call it for the night. Man, day 1 was pretty rough, I'm not gonna lie. But now that the Lost Levels is out of the way and I actually beat it, it seems like all was fine with the world. I woke up today in a pretty chirpy mood. I was feeling ready for the day because Mario Bros. 2 is a breath of fresh air. But while I'm busy playing 15 billion Mario games, why not check out our sponsor, Honkai Star Rail? It's a free game made by the Creative RPG, semi-open, reminds me a lot of Argentine new story, Honkai Star 800, and use the to restart. You can use coins in the sliding, and as far to redeem 50 Stellar Jade. Thanks to Honkai for sponsoring this video. The only thing that's annoying about this game is that if you get a game over too many times, you have to restart from the very beginning. And as far as I'm aware, there's no code that keeps you in the same world. No, you just have to play the whole thing over. Luckily, there's ways to help combat this. You can use coins in the slot machine and try to get either cherries on the first roll or full matches for some extra lives. And with practice, you can actually time out your button presses and either get a cherry or full match every single time, but it's super precise and I'm not that familiar with the timing. When I got to World 6, I ended up getting a game over because I choked, so I had to restart from the very beginning. But you know what? 20 levels ain't that bad. And I actually like this game, so I didn't mind that much at all. Simple Flips was also in Mario Bros. 2. This was another game he wasn't as familiar with, so it was taking slightly longer for him to finish. After playing through it again and securing more lives, I made it to war and took that frog out with the power of vegetables. It didn't feel like it, but Mario Bros. 2 actually took me 4 hours and 52 minutes to finish, despite seeming much shorter than that. And speaking of short, Super Mario Land was the next game on the list. To 100% this one, I need to beat all 12 levels without warps. Yep, you heard that right. There's only 12 levels in Mario Land. This game has some super janky controls and it's visually aged pretty horribly, but there's something about it that I just adore. All the songs are fantastic, and the levels actually try to do something different compared to most 2D Mario games. The themes are very diverse in nature, and I like that the Fire Flower is replaced with a Super Ball that bounces around the screen until it hits an enemy. The bosses are also laughably easy. You can legit just walk around half of them and they'll lose. So because there's so few levels in Super Mario Land, this game didn't take very long to get through. In fact, I actually managed to beat the whole thing without getting a game over, which is fantastic, because if you get a game over, you go back to the very beginning. But it was definitely down to the wire. I had 1 life left and needed to get through Tatanga to finish. His bullet pattern isn't that hard to avoid, but it's also tricky if you aren't paying enough attention. But I somehow managed to finish this game in just 42 minutes. And wow, we're already at Super Mario Bros. 3. To 100% this game, we need to beat all 90 levels, which includes the 2 plant stages in World 7 and 3 hand stages in World 8, as well as collect all 3 warp whistles. We're not going to use the warp whistles, obviously. But it felt appropriate to get them anyway for the sake of full completion. Now, I absolutely love Mario Bros. 3. This is still my all-time favorite 2D Mario, and was so excited to be able to cruise through it. Everything about it is just amazing. The controls, the music, the hub world, the vast amount of power-ups, the secrets. Because the levels are so nicely bite-sized and well-made, it's addicting to play Mario Bros. 3 over and over again. And I love that while the game is full of secrets, you don't need to find them all and still enjoy playing it. It's aged remarkably well, although the graphics don't hold up quite so much. The best part of this game is saving up all your P-Wings and then just flying through all the airships in World 8. They're the most challenging levels in the game, so the fact that Mario Bros. 3 gives you an item to basically skip them is hilarious. So after 3 hours and 56 minutes, I finished Mario Bros. 3. I'm not surprised I beat this game so quickly, but 104 hours is faster than I anticipated. Even though I've been going for quite a while today, I wanted to at least get a start on Super Mario World. To 100% Mario World, I need to beat all 72 levels, find all 24 secret exits, and hit all 4 colored switches. This is where things are gonna get interesting. We're no longer just finishing levels. 2D Mario starts to get a bit more complex from this point forward. And I should also mention that I'm garbage at Mario World. I've never been a fan of the pinpoint jumping physics. It just makes the game feel really slippery. And I know nobody agrees with me on this, but that's just how I feel about it. I much prefer the satisfaction of building speed in Mario Bros. 3 compared to something like Mario World. But this is still inherently a great game. It's just one that I've barely played in the past. In fact, this is where the race between me and Simple could change drastically. He's played the hell out of Mario World ROM hacks for several years, so I already know he's gonna blaze through Mario World and get a head start on me. I'm anticipating that he's gonna hold the lead up until the new Super Mario Bros. Games, since I've got a lot more experience with those. But honestly, even if he does get a huge lead, I don't really care. I've managed to be in a great headspace this whole time, which is all I could really want. And even though I'm not good at this game, I actually made quite a bit of progress today. Thanks to the spreadsheet, I could easily check and see which levels had secrets, as well as what locations they were in. And that's one of the reasons I'm not super fond of this game. Once you get to the Forest of Illusion, I feel like it's kind of dumb that you have no choice but to find a bunch of secrets to make any progress. Now, I get if you play the game a million times, it's not that big a deal, you just know what to do, but I've only beaten Mario World once, and that was years ago. I have no idea where any of this stuff is, so thank God for the spreadsheet. But I got about halfway through Mario World and was done for the day. As expected, Simple Flips got way ahead of me last night, so now I have no choice but to play catch-up. But it wasn't too bad. I was getting stuck on a few annoying levels. In fact, I was struggling with Larry. Now, I imagine most people are like, how? And my answer is, I don't know! Something about the way the platform moves up and down, and the way that you hit him just feels awkward. This was unironically the hardest boss in the game, even though he should be super easy. After taking out Bowser and finding the rest of the secret exits, all that was left was the special world. And the only level I was concerned with was Tubular. You have to keep getting P-balloons and floating across the entire stage while avoiding a ton of obstacles. I thought I'd be stuck in this level for like an hour, but shockingly, I only died like 6 or 7 times. I just squarely focused on where the safe areas were and then executed. After that, I had a few more levels to go and successfully 100%ed Mario World. It took me about 6 hours and 32 minutes, which is a lot less time than I anticipated, but still much slower than Simple's time. So now I needed to rock. I was gonna need to play really well to be able to catch up at all. The next game to tackle is Super Mario Land 2. I decided to use the unofficial DX version that adds proper color just because it looks a lot nicer. But to 100% Mario Land 2, I need to beat all 33 levels and find all 6 secret exits. Yeah, this game actually has secret exits, and I didn't realize that until very recently. Mario Land 2 is one of the most underrated 2D Mario games if you ask me. It's pretty crazy how much of a glow-up this is compared to Mario Land 1 in every fashion. The controls are much tighter, the pixel art is a lot better, the music is as catchy as ever, and those world themes. These are some of the most creative themes we've seen in a Mario game, period. Tree Zone, going into Mario's crotch zone, getting eaten by a turtle zone, and flying through space. It's also neat how Tatanga makes a guest appearance as just a regular boss. It's quite a surprise cameo. Throughout playing this, there was really only 2 parts I struggled with. In Turtle Zone, there's a secret exit that requires me to go down this really skinny water path filled with spikes and fish bones, and it seemed like no matter what I did, the damn fish bone would hit me and I'd have to start the level all over again. His hitbox was just massive, and I burned through most of my lives getting through this. The other part that was hard was the last level. Holy mother of ass, the difficulty goes full-on Baja Blast mode. And it's out of complete nowhere, too. I don't know why Mario Land 2 is easy up until this last stage, but here's the one part of this game that's really dumb. If you lose all your lives in this final level, you lose all the coins to this final level door, which means that you'd be forced to fight all the bosses again to get all the coins back. Why the hell is this a thing? This was clearly added to pad out game time, which is unfortunate because this game is fantastic otherwise. So just before running out of lives, I needed to farm coins and play this slot machine to get extra lives. I also needed to play a good chunk of this last level using the carrot power-up. Yeah, and I haven't even brought up power-ups yet, but the carrot is stupidly OP. If you're really good at mashing the A button, you can basically float until time itself is an illusion. It's super handy for the final level due to the amount of spikes that need to be avoided. And this level's huge too. It goes on for way longer than the other levels in the game. And it all ends with Wario as the final boss. I just love how Wario's the boss, and also they made him super wide for like no reason. But even Wario's kind of scary, considering you get no checkpoints if you die to him. So due to nerves, I died at Wario quite a few times until eventually taking him out. It's actually kind of funny how easy the last phase is. If you just mash with the carrot in the air, you can hit him 3 times in like 4 seconds. But after that, the game was over and I finished it in 2 hours and 39 minutes. That's about how long I expected this one to take, but I completely forgot how tough that last level is. So up next was Super Mario All-Stars. In order to 100% this one, we need to beat all 4 games without using warps. This equates to beating 194 levels. The reason we're even playing this is because these games aren't ports. They're full-on remakes with upgraded graphics and music, and the physics are a lot better too. Because of that, it makes sense to add these to the marathon since they're pretty different experiences compared to the NES counterparts. It's also worth noting that we're not playing the version of Mario All-Stars that added in Super Mario World, because that version changed nothing about that game. The save system is also much more generous. We don't need to worry about replaying the entire world or the whole game again, so in general, these 4 games will be a lot more fun to play. So of course, I started with Super Mario Bros, and my god was it so much better than before. I still got stuck in World 8 for a bit, but at least the controls felt more functional. It's really surprising how few people seem to realize Mario All-Stars is a thing. Everyone just talks about the original NES versions and how great they are, when this remake is sitting right here. Because I've been cruising through the games, I've been feeling pretty solid today. At this point, I'm mostly just vibing. After not too long, I finished Super Mario Bros. Again and was popping off, but it was a bit early to be celebrating. And that's because the next game is The Lost Levels again. Yeah, I actually have to play this, but now with better controls. But do the improved controls even fix the game? Well, no, not at all. The level design itself is still horrible and lacks any sort of coherence. And it doesn't help that the graphics, while recreated and look nice, are just being copied and pasted over from Mario Bros. 1, which, obviously makes sense, but because I just finished the Mario 1 remake, it just feels like I'm playing a worse version of this game yet again. But you know what? I'm not too upset about it, because I've somehow managed to catch up to Simple Flips. Yeah, I'm really surprised about that considering how big of a lead he had, but Simple had to run a short errand today, and that small break gave me enough time to completely catch up to him. And next thing I knew, I took out Bowser after Bowser and was somehow at 8-4 already. Then I took him out, and oh my god, I've already beaten a good chunk of the game. and I say a good chunk because of course World 9 and Worlds A through D are included, but at least the hardest part of Mario All-Stars is out of the way. The main thing I was having issues with this time was with D3, because a lot of this came down to Hammer Bro luck. There's like 87 bullet bills being fired at you at any given time, and it requires a lot of really precise jumps and also hoping that a Hammer Bro doesn't get in the way. But after getting through that in D4, I was finally done with the lost levels. But the suffering didn't end there. My thumbs were screaming in pain. This is something you wouldn't think would be an issue, but when you're using an NES or a SNES controller D-pad and pushing down on them really hard for super long periods of time, you're gonna lose circulation in your thumbs. And since I've been using these controllers for 3 days straight, my left thumb in particular was hurting a lot. Even when I wasn't playing, I could feel it throbbing constantly. But that's okay. I'm still feeling pretty good, and we've moved on to Super Mario Bros. 2 again. I feel like the NES game still looks decent even today, but man, the glow up on the SNES remake holds up super well too. The controls feel very similar, although maybe it's not quite as slippery.
Rated everyone.
The Bob-Ombs also have proper arms and legs, and I'm kind of obsessed with them. I also don't need to rely on the slot machine as much, which is nice. One thing that is a bit different is that I switched to the Pro Controller so I could use the joystick. That's how much my thumb was aching. And the Pro Controller is not ideal, as the joystick is known for having misinputs sometimes. But even so, I was breezing through the game, and also going for a cool wall clip at the end. If you slide and jump off this chain in the right spot, you can clip through the wall and skip a massive chunk of 7-2. It wasn't really necessary to do this considering I was making great time already, but I thought it would look kind of cool, and after a few minutes, I got the clip and took out Birdo. And just like that, we were done with Super Mario Bros. 2. Again! Which means I just have to finish Mario Bros. 3. Simple Flips ended up getting a bit of a lead today still, but not by much. He was maybe a few worlds ahead of me. It's really surprising how close this race has been, but looking back, it makes a lot of sense. Even though he's played an immense amount of Mario Maker 2, that game's physics are way different to everything we're playing for the marathon. And the reason for that is because we were both adapting to the controls as we were going along. There wasn't really an advantage on either side. But moving on, getting to play Mario Bros. 3 again with better graphics was such a treat. I was massively chilling the whole way through. Despite how enjoyable this game is, it was also 1 a.m. and I needed to get to bed. So I got through a good chunk of World 6 and was ready to finish up. But little did I know the hell that was brewing the next day. I only had 2 more worlds to go in Mario All-Stars before it was all said and done, and it was a little bittersweet. Now, I would be playing Mario Bros. 3 in a few days anyway, but Mario 3 to me is like hanging out with a best friend that you never get to see, and they only visit like 3 or 4 days out of the year, so you're always sad when it's over. And next thing I knew, Bowser's butt fell into the pit of shame, and it was done. I finished Super Mario All-Stars in 9 hours and 36 minutes. This is another game that I didn't expect to knock out so quickly, but now it's time. Super Mario Bros. Deluxe on the Game Boy Color. You may think that the 100% conditions are straightforward, right? Here's what we need to do. Beat the original game with no warps. Beat it again with the star icon. Complete the Super Players game with no warps. Defeat every type of enemy. Kill Bowser using the Fire Flower in all 8 worlds. Get all the red coins / high score medals / Yoshi eggs in challenge mode, and fill the total score meter in challenge mode. Now you may be asking, why on earth are there so many random requirements? Well, that's because this game has achievements. Yep, I'm not joking, there's actual achievements to unlock that give you photos after completing them, in a Game Boy Color game. The only 2 things we can unlock are trying multiplayer and using the infrared link. And that's because we're obviously streaming from far away and aren't using actual Game Boy Colors to play this. And as if things couldn't get worse, just look at this game! I mean, it does run surprisingly well and is faithful to the NES version, but good golly gravy! Look at the screen crunch! It's so bad that this game has options to move the screen manually just so you can see better. I wasn't sure how much the screen crunch would hinder the actual game, because it's been about 20 years since I've played it. In fact, Mario Bros. Deluxe is the first Mario game I ever played, and I still remember beating it when I was like 7 or 8 years old. I also like how in between levels, there's a little map that shows Mario physically walking from level to level, so there's some pretty neat quality of life features packed in, and for whatever reason, the Fire Flower flashes shades of pink in this game, which makes it look very much like the Bubble Flower from Mario Bros. Wonder. But how is the remake itself? How does it play? Well, it's definitely harder than the original version. I found myself moving the camera up and down by accident all the time, because the camera controls had to be mapped to the same D-pad that we're using for moving, because there's only like 5.5 buttons on a Game Boy Color. They didn't have a choice. I also needed to play a lot more cautiously. Running ahead at full speed was a horrible idea if you didn't know exactly what was coming. Doing that would often lead to running into enemies by accident. But after a little over an hour, I managed to beat the original game. So it's nice to knock that out, but now I get to do it again with a star icon. What's the difference though? A star icon? Well, basically the Goombas turn into Buzzy Beetles. Yep, that's the only difference.
An easy way to download Fortnite on your guys' iOS devices, just like me, okay? Now, as you guys can see, Fortnite is opening on my device, and basically, guys, I am able to download Fortnite without using the app.
Now, funny enough, this so-called star mode is also in the original Super Mario Bros. If you just replay the game after beating it, but because the difference was so minuscule, we didn't bother adding it as a requirement for the marathon. But we're doing it this time because we'll unlock a photo for it. So after beating the star icon version, which really wasn't that much harder, I decided to also play and beat the You vs. Boo challenge. This is probably my favorite part of the game. The concept's pretty simple. You race a Boo across a custom-built stage and try to beat Boo to the end. In the way are a bunch of red and white blocks. Hitting the one with a face changes their color and updates the platform surrounding you. This is a ton of fun, and I'm really surprised Nintendo has never brought it back. This mode would be killer to see as DLC in Mario Bros. Wonder, even if it's just a small handful of stages. But after that, I clicked on the Luigi head and the title screen said Super Players Mode. I wonder what that is. No, it's the Lost Levels again, but now with Screen Crunch! Oh god, Nintendo, why did you feel the need to include this? There's only one good thing about playing the Lost Levels again. Not every stage is included. World 9 and Worlds A through D aren't playable. Although, funny enough, all these stages are hidden in the game's code still. They also removed the wind from all the levels and made some of the jumps slightly easier. So, in a way, this is the best and worst way to play the Lost Levels. They make the game easier, but only because we're playing in a crunchy 4x3 ratio. Since I've already played through this awful game twice, getting through it a third time was not as painful as I expected. I already knew it was coming up, so I was hoping to only get stuck at the very end. Simple at this point was only slightly behind, but again, we're still very close. I'm starting to wonder if we're just gonna end up being neck to neck for the entire marathon. But about an hour or so in, I was now stuck at World 7, which is to be expected. These levels are so horribly designed and not fun, so adding Screen Crunch was not making things any easier. After being stuck in 8-3 for what felt like years, I finally beat it and then finished Bowser, and holy crap, the Lost Levels was over. I never have a reason to play any version of that game ever again, and I am so thankful for that. The only thing left to do now is the challenge mode. At first, this seemed like a really fun and enjoyable way to replay the levels. Each stage has a hidden Yoshi egg and 5 red coins. It wasn't too hard to find these things because I made a spreadsheet that showed me all the locations. However, there were a few problems with this. Some of the red coins are hidden in obscure spots that nobody would ever find without a guide, so it's a good thing we've got help for that. And for whatever reason, there was one level in each world that was absurdly difficult. I think I spent like 20 to 30 minutes getting the score, red coins, and Yoshi egg in 1-2 of all places. I'm not sure why the game randomly gets so hard, but it made this challenge mode slowly feel more and more like a chore. I was still in a good headspace, but I had this dawning sense that I was going to be trapped in challenge mode for way longer than anticipated. The hardest part of the challenge mode, surprisingly enough, was getting a high enough score. Some stages made this really easy, while some of them were absurdly hard. Absurd as in, you need to speedrun the level almost perfectly while also getting enough coins, power-ups, and fireworks at the end, only for you to just barely get the score you needed. Like, look at 3-2. It's demanding 85,000 points, which is crazy for one level. The only way to get it is to let the Koopas in the game hit tons of enemies in a row. Otherwise, it's completely impossible. And that's not even a hard level. Getting the score in 5-2 requires you to do the dumbest shit ever. There's not much of an opportunity to get points at all in this level, so the only way I can rack up a lot quickly is by carefully bouncing and hitting this Koopa over and over again. This required an immense amount of concentration, because one mistake with your jump meant doing the whole thing over again. Did the developers at the time not test these challenge stages? Who in their right mind wants to bounce off a Koopa 80 times with no mistakes and then pray they get to the end without choking? And oh my lord, I have gotten so tired of this music. I've had to listen to the overworld theme for almost 5 days straight, and I'm ready to rip my ears off. Now yes, I could fire up Spotify or something, but I don't want to do that because listening to the sound effects help with timing, so I have no choice but to push through. By the time I got to World 7 and 8, it was incredibly brutal. I was so exhausted from playing Mario 1 stages that I wasn't making any progress. I started to play stages out of order just to freshen things up, but it didn't really help that much. At this point, I just needed some sleep, considering that I sunk almost the whole day into Super Mario Bros. Deluxe and still wasn't done. So I was gonna have to play it again for day 5 for who knows how long. Despite how arduously long SMB Deluxe has been taking, I was in a good mood and ready to go. I still needed to finish challenge mode for World 7 and 8, and the game was still not giving it to me easy. As I was about to wrap up though, I was warned of an extremely fatal bug this game has. If you manage to complete multiple challenges at once, the game will not give you all the achievement pictures. So if I were to say finish all the red coins and Yoshi eggs at the same time while wrapping up the last level, I may only get one of those photos. So knowing that, I finished 8-2, which was the last level I needed to complete. I got the score, the red coins, and the Yoshi egg all individually. So I checked my album, and I did not get the Yoshi egg.
Domino's pepperoni stuffed cheesy bread is loaded with pepperoni. It's kind of like your favorite pizza's best friend.
Photo. You've got to be kidding me. I followed the game's glitchy rules and I still got the bug. If you're curious what the photo looks like, here it is. Yep, that's the photo. That's the glory I missed out on because of this fantastic bug. Although I guess it technically doesn't matter because you can see on my screen that I did everything. The game just didn't want to give me the photo. But I had one more award to get. Maxing out the challenge meter. You see this bar on the bottom that isn't full? Yeah, I have to fill this freaking bar to get the last award. But you might be confused because I already got the challenge medals for every stage. Shouldn't that have been enough to fill the bar? Okay, so I currently have 1,044,700 points, but I need to get 1,160,000 points. So that means I have to replay stages and try to squeeze out an additional 115,300 points. Why such a specific number? And why is it so much higher? Dude, I will never escape this Game Boy Games clutches. It wants me to play this for the rest of my life, and maybe it'll let me reach 100%, but I have to die for it! Okay, sorry. Maybe that was a bit far. Do you want to know what I had to do to get an extra 100,000 points? More Koopa jumping! This is so stupid. I almost can't be upset because of how absurd this is. I deliberately had to scrub through all the stages and look for places where I could do Koopa bouncing to squeeze out an additional 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 points per level, which may not sound that bad, so it's pretty good. But achieving an additional 115,000 points is an insane ask. So that's what I spent several more hours doing today, trying to find levels where I could do the stupid Koopa bouncing. Now, I bet some of you were thinking, oh, just do the one-up trick in 3-1. That would rack up a ton of points, right? Well, guess what? The show breaks after 8,000 points, and I know that because Simple Flips tried the strategy last night, and it didn't work for him. Look, I think Mario Bros. Deluxe as a game has a lot of great things to offer, but going for 100% is somehow one of the most obnoxious things I've ever done in a Mario game. After spending half the day replaying stages, I figured out that I could get a good chunk of points in 4-2, which let me finally finish the score bar and 100% the game. Just kidding! Ha ha ha! I'm not done yet! Oh my god! I'm not done because I forgot to kill Bowser with fireballs in all 8 worlds. At least I'm able to just travel to whichever world and level I want to, so yippee-yahoo for that. But you're not gonna believe this. Even doing this was challenging, especially for World 7. I needed to retain a Fire Flower for the entirety of World 7. That's because I can get one power-up in 7-1 and another in 7-3, which means I had to survive 7-2's complete RNG bullshit and also get through 7-3 and 7-4 without any mistakes. But I've been playing this game for like half my life at this point. I knew I could do it. So that's what happened. I knocked out Bowser with fireballs, I got this fantastic photo filled out, and was finally done with this behemoth. It only took a quick 17 hours and 52 minutes, so no big deal. I guess I'll just crawl my way over to the next game if I have any energy left. Finally, we can move on to Super Mario Advance. For those that don't know, this is Super Mario Bros. 2 again, but with better graphics, and the characters talk to you. To 100% Super Mario Advance, I need to beat all 20 levels without warping, and then beat the levels again while collecting all 40 Yoshi eggs and 100 Ace Coins. This is why we're playing the Advance remakes, because they all have exclusive content that none of the other versions have. These are actually the versions of the games that I grew up with. Well, mostly just Advance 1. I loved this game as a kid, and even now it's still fantastic. The only drawback I could really argue is that it's too much on the easy side. Getting lives and extra health is so much simpler. Just as one example, if you collide multiple enemies together, then you'll get free hearts for it. There's also a brand new boss in this game. In World 3, you fight this creepy Robo-Bird thing, and the only way to defeat him is by throwing these massive eggs at it, so that's kinda neat. After a bit of time, I finished the main game and moved on to the extra stuff. The Ace Coins aren't too hard to find as they're usually just out in the open waiting to be grabbed, but the Yoshi eggs are a bit of a different story. There's 2 in each level, and they can only be found in the subworld, meaning you have to throw the potions in the right spot and hope there's one nearby. Some of the eggs aren't too hard to find, but some of them are in the most ridiculous spots. Even just this first level, you gotta drop down this pipe and grab the potion, then come back out, jump up the mountain a bit, and then you can throw the potion and get the the egg. I am so glad I made a guide for these eggs because a good portion of them would have been really confusing to find. While I'm really glad to finally have the opportunity to play this extra stuff in the Advanced series, I also know I'm gonna feel so relieved that I'll never need to do this again. I also had this really unlucky moment with the egg in 2-2 where it passed underneath the sand because that's where I dug down and then I lost my progress. 5-1 has an egg where you have to jump above the screen to grab this mushroom block thing, then you can throw the potion and the egg will pass through because otherwise it would have gotten stuck in that crevice. Oh, and then 5-2, there's another egg where you gotta carry a potion up a vine by standing on an enemy while Snippets are shooting balls at you. Like I said, there's some pretty annoying eggs, but it wasn't as hard as I expected. The main hurdle was that it was just time consuming, because by the time Wart gobbled down more veggies, it took 6 hours and 59 minutes. But the day was not over yet. We're already moving on to Super Mario Advance 2, this game being a remake of Super Mario World. To 100% this, I need to beat all 72 levels, find all 24 secret exits, hit all 4 switches, and collect all 360 Dragon Coins. The only reason we're getting the Dragon Coins this time is because there's a reward compared to the original game. You apparently get this super cool cutscene at the end, and the coins also transform. While in the original game, you just get a 1-up for getting all the Dragon Coins in any individual stage, so not really worth much. There's actually a lot of really cool things about this remake. For one, you can play as Luigi, who I was rocking for quite a while. He has a higher jump and takes more time to build speed, so I actually quite liked it because it unironically made the game feel less slippery. There's also Dragon Coins in most of the levels that didn't have them before, as well as a bunch of small improvements. The only real downside this game has is that it looks blown out to shit, and the reason for that is this game came out when the only Game Boy Advance that existed was the one without the backlit screen, so Advance 2 had to compensate and make the whole game a bit brighter. But besides that, it's the same great game again. And even though I've never been super fond of Mario World, as you know at this point, this marathon has really made me appreciate it more. I was starting to remember where the secret exits were by just playing, which made getting through it a lot more fun than the first time. But the day was getting really late and I was getting tired, so I stopped after playing a decent chunk of it. Despite being 6 days in, I somehow still have the same amount of energy as I did on the first day. Maybe I'm just used to these marathons? I'm not really sure, but the goal was to finish Advance 2 and get as far as I could into Advance 4. Also, surprise Carl cameo! Carl came in to work on some rough cuts for this video, so he popped into the stream to see how it was going. I was surprised how much I was enjoying Mario World today. Finding the Dragon Coins wasn't too bad either. I was just kind of grabbing them as I was going. Another cool addition is the inventory screen. You can see which levels you've gotten all the Dragon Coins in and helps you keep track of them. The only Dragon Coins that were a pain in the butt were the ones in Valley Fortress. Their placement was pretty ridiculous at times, requiring you to make super precise jumps to get them all. But after beating that, I was finally done and I got the epic cutscene. Washed out.
I have to look again.
Whoa, this cutscene's crazy!
What? You're getting paid!
It honestly was kind of satisfying to see all the coins you get rained down in a nice pile. Mario Advance 2 took me 9 hours and 40 minutes. So it was another beefy game, but the time flew by for this one. After this is the last Advance game, Super Mario Advance 4. And no, we're not playing Advance 3 or Yoshi's Island because they're Yoshi games where you play as Yoshi. Not gonna tell me otherwise. But anyway, to 100% Mario Advance 4, we need to beat all 90 levels, which includes the 2 plant stages in World 7 and the 3 hand stages in World 8, as well as get all 3 warp whistles. But that's not all. We also need to clear all 38 e-reader levels and collect all 147 Ace coins and 8 E coins. As you can imagine, I'm absolutely stoked to play a remake of Mario Bros. 3 again because it's so damn replayable. And you may also be wondering why the screen doesn't look like it was fried compared to Mario Advance 2. Well, at the time that this game came out, the Game Boy Advance SP released, so I imagine they didn't feel the need to blow out the picture because it has a backlit screen. I really don't have much to say about this run-through since this is the third go, but I did finish the game with 179 lives. That's because for whatever reason, the level where I normally farm lives gave me way more than usual, so I just kind of had a bunch extra the rest of the way through. But things get interesting with the e-reader levels, because this is like playing an entirely new game. If you aren't familiar with how these levels work, well, you would need an e-reader and physical cards. These cards contain the actual levels, and you had to scan them in with the e-reader. Thankfully, Nintendo dropped a massive W and has given us a version of Mario Advance 4 that comes with every e-reader level without any scanning required, which means we can easily play them all. And I gotta say, these levels are fascinating. To start off, there's a small handful of remade stages from older games, although I guess it's not that surprising to see 1-1 and 1-2 get remakes, but that's only the beginning. There's several stages where you can pick up vegetables like in Mario Bros. 2, and even use the cape from Mario World. Having the ability to use different game mechanics and power-ups that weren't intended for the Mario Bros. 3 engine will always be such a cool piece of history. But we were at the end of the day, and I didn't make much progress, so I'd finish the e-reader levels tomorrow. Halfway. We are already halfway through the marathon. It doesn't even feel like it's been that long. And even crazier is that Simple Flips has been at my page.
Fortnite Touch is back and it's free to play, available up to 1440p with 120
pretty much the whole time. I'm honestly starting to wonder if I have maybe a chance of winning this race. But I can't think about that right now. It's time to tackle the rest of the e-reader levels, and there's quite a few of them to knock out still. As I was playing through them, there were two things that were very distinct and stuck out. One, a lot of these levels were really tough. Some of them took me multiple tries to get through, especially since I was going for all the extra coins. And two, there were so many mazes. I did not realize how many maze-themed levels were included. I have beaten these levels in the past for fun, but I wasn't going for the extra coins. But now that I am going for them, I'm only just realizing how deep and complex some of these levels can be. Like, just look at this example. There's over 10 freaking doors, and they all lead to specific rooms. On one hand, I think that's really awesome to have challenging levels, but I also wish they weren't so maze-oriented. They kind of remind me of Ghost House levels, which I'm not a fan of. I'm always filled with a sense of dread when it comes to Ghost Houses in Mario games. I get that they're there to break up the pacing a bit, which is fine, but getting lost is never fun. It's a damn good thing that there's maps online for where to go, because I could have easily sunk all day trying to find my way around. But who am I kidding? You fight two Boom Booms at the same time, which somehow leads to them being hard enough that I died, so you get brownie points for that one, Nintendo. Even though some of the levels were confusing, I was having a blast playing through these fully. I mean, look at how crazy this Bowser fight is. The arena is completely different and changes a lot of the strategies that you'd normally use for taking him out. And my god, the level itself was so hard too. It took me several attempts, but after a few hours, I finished up the e-reader stages and was done. Mario Advance 4 took me a total of 9 hours and 26 minutes, so a bit longer than I expected. But the advanced titles were finished, and finally, I can play a 2D Mario that isn't just the 3 original NES games. Starting, of course, with New Super Mario Bros., the first of the new series, and probably my favorite of the bunch. To 100% this, we need to beat all 80 levels, collect all 240 star coins, spend them all, unlock all 5 cannons and 18 secret exits, and also beat all the challenge mode. We won't be going for star coins in challenge mode because it's actually impossible to get them all, plus the difference is so tiny in this mode that it's almost not worth doing to begin with. But onto the game itself. While I knew at this point I was feeling confident in finishing the rest of these games on time, this could potentially turn into a massive slog. All 5 of the NSMB games we'll be playing are remarkably similar, so after the DS version, I may start to feel a bit drained. But that's not how it started. I was having a blast at first. We may not be in widescreen yet or have the most polished controls, but there's so much that's great about New Soup on the DS. The unique bosses, the great castle music, the blue shell item. I could go on for quite a while. And something pretty neat happened today. You want to know what it was? The Zelda movie was announced! It was really funny because I thought my chat was trolling for 30 minutes until I checked Twitter and saw Miyamoto himself made a tweet. I'm excited and terrified of what could come from a live-action Zelda film, and that's all I'll say on the matter. But anyway, I just kept chugging along and, as usual, played worse and worse from exhaustion. By the time I got to World 8, I was getting stuck on levels for like 30 minutes for no real reason. One of the castle star coins was making me super frustrated, and I actually didn't finish the game today and stopped streaming a bit early. But don't worry, I did play Luigi's Casino minigame for like 5 minutes. But honestly, the reason I stopped early was because I had 2 other obligations. Record a discussion with Arlo and Antdude, and play Mario Kart 8's Wave 6 DLC so I could finish up the ranked video for all the tracks. Yeah, I'm doing all this on top of the marathon. Thanks for the timing, Nintendo. I was up incredibly late trying to get this extra work done, later than I think any of the nights during this whole marathon, but I was still feeling pretty good. It was actually kind of a relief to play Mario Kart and record the discussion because it was something different. I was really starting to feel the repetition playing nothing but 2D Mario for a week straight. I hit the wall today. This was the one day throughout the whole marathon where I was just in a bad mood. I finished up New Super Mario Bros. And started the challenge mode, but it was really settling in. I still had to play 4 of them, and the thought of playing 4 games that are so similar was just dreadful. But I persisted on, and just tried to play the best I could. If you're wondering what the challenge mode is, by the way, the only difference is you can't go back and forth in the level. So it's just like the original Mario Bros. 1 where the camera doesn't scroll backwards. That's literally it. Because I wasn't going for star coins, I was able to get through the challenge mode pretty quickly. It was also kind of neat spending all the star coins at the shop too. You unlock all these skins for the bottom of your screen. The amount of time this game took to finish was 12 hours and 8 minutes, which is actually about as long as I anticipated. But it was now time to move on to New Super Mario Bros. Wii. To 100% this, we need to beat all 77 levels, collect all 231 star coins, spend them all, unlock all 6 cannons, and 15 secret exits. The best thing I can really say about switching to this game is that we're in widescreen territory. It'll be a lot easier to find all the star coins and secret exits that we need to get. Something I always forget too is that you can play this game with a nunchuck, which is going to be a little more comfortable than holding the Wiimote sideways. While we have power-ups like the propeller mushroom and penguin suit, this is pretty much the same game I played before. The controls are also a little more polished, and it's nice that you have a little spin jump, but you gotta do the spin by shaking the controller, so it doesn't work as smoothly as I wish it did, but it's not the end of the world. The main hurdle today was just staying awake. Oh my god, this game is so freaking boring. especially after playing 2D Mario for 8 days straight. I felt completely trapped and was slowly losing my mind. All the little things were starting to pile up. If I missed a star coin, I had to wait for the flagpole animation to finish, wait for the game to load me back into the hub world, then you click the level again, watch the blank title screen reveal the name, and finally load back into the level. The pacing in New Soup Wii is unbearably slow, and it feels more enhanced for me just because of how much time I've spent playing 2D Mario. Even look at the notes Carl made when cutting the rough draft for this day. World 3 B-roll and level finish. It was very uneventful. World 5 B-roll, nothing happened, Lamau, you're just cruising. Audio starts to get crunchy, Envy is tired and annoyed. Yeah, that also started to happen. Look, I'm someone that needs alone time at least a couple times a week to recharge the social part of my brain, but I have had no chances to do that the past week. Simple Flips was cracking jokes as usual. Meanwhile, I just wanted some silence for a day or two. In hindsight, I felt bad about my mood because my chat kept asking if I was okay, and yeah, I mean, I was fine. I just didn't want to stream that day. But I also think a lot of the problem was just the game I was playing. Felt like my life was running in slow motion and I couldn't get out. If you're still in high school or remember high school, do you remember how painful it was waiting for the last 10 minutes of class to end before going home? You just sit there with your backpack already on your shoulders. You're ready to bolt out of that damn door. You're staring at the massive clock and you're just staring at it, watching the time slowly tick away. Maybe you were even holding your breath over and over again because you were bored seeing how long you could hold your breath. Or maybe that was just me, I don't know. But saying all that, I did not get through New Soup Wii today. I actually ended up playing a couple levels into World 7 and then I was done. So I'll finish it tomorrow and hopefully be a bit more chipper as well. Even though I wasn't done with New Soup Wii, at least I was very close. Simple Flips ended up finishing New Soup Wii last night, so I had to play a bit of catch-up. I was also feeling a lot better today. I got a decent amount of sleep, and I was at least excited for the other New Soup games. New Soup Wii still feels pretty boring, but at least the final boss is awesome. I still think it's one of the best 2D Mario fights. Bowser just destroys all the platforms around you with his body and fireballs. It's great fun. And after that, I just had to finish World 9, which does have a couple of hard levels. I needed to replay 9-4 multiple times, which was honestly pretty painful. That's because this level includes one of the worst star coins of all time. At the end of this very long auto-scroller, I need to freeze this plant to make a platform to get into this red pipe. The only problem is that there's bob-ombs constantly dropping either on me or on the platform I'm standing on, which just so happens to fall to the ground with the extra weight. And then there's the second star coin. It's just like hiding in this corner in the most awkward spot possible, and I somehow got it with a bob-omb. I don't know how, I just did. So it was incredibly annoying having to replay this level a billion times, but eventually I did get through it. 9-7 was also tough and is generally considered the hardest level in the game, but I'd argue that only getting the third star coin is tough. It's hiding behind a bunch of ice blocks, and you kind of have to get lucky with the fire bro, or throw your own fire in just the right spots to get it without dying. And then that was it. I was basically done. I just had to spend all the coins on the hit movies, which actually took quite a while. There's like 100 movies to unlock, most of them being completely worthless. Now, don't get me wrong, there are a couple of fun ones to watch, but holy crap, this takes forever. Like, why do the menus have to be so bouncy and laggy? Don't make me bring up the high school clock again. But the weird thing is that I was missing a couple of movies. That didn't really make sense to me. Like, how is that even possible? Well, guess what? It turns out I didn't use the canon in World 6, and after doing that, I unlocked the last couple of movies. That's very strange that you have to actually use all the canons, but after that, I was actually done, and this game took 9 hours and 13 minutes. But boy did it feel. But the next game, of course, is New Super Mario Bros. 2. To 100% this one, I need to beat all 94 levels, collect all 282 stars.
Business checking with no monthly maintenance fee, so you don't chew through your profits.
Guaranteed fresh? Ah, this is gonna be expensive. Wait, it's not expensive?
It's an Aldi thing.
/moon coins, unlock all 4 cannons and 15 secret exits. I also need to play all the hidden rainbow stages, get 1,110 lives, and finally complete all 10 DLC packs. The only thing we won't be doing is getting 1 million coins or maxing out the coin counter, and that's mostly because it's a colossal waste of time and wouldn't be that interesting to do at all. The only rewards you get for that is a gold Mario statue and a gold Raccoon Mario statue. Wow, fascinating. Anyway, this game has quite a lot to cover, but I was actually pretty excited for it. Unlike New Soup Wii, I still remember buying New Soup 2 when I was in college. I was working as a pizza delivery driver for a few months and had built up a good chunk of tip money in cash. And around that time, the 3DS dropped in price drastically, and I was really eyeing up that 3DS. So I gave in one day and bought a 3DS, Super Mario 3D Land, Mario Kart 7, and New Super Mario Bros. 2. I did spend over half of my tip money, but at the time, oh, it was totally worth it. The first game I played through was New Super Mario Bros. 2, and I 100% that game in like 2 days. It was one of the rare highlights I had that year, so I'm admittedly a little fond of this title. The only interesting thing about New Soup 2 is the focus on coins. The game wants you to collect as many as possible, and as dumb as that concept is, I can't help but find it to be a really charming gimmick. The game goes out of its way to make collecting coins easy. You can turn enemies into coins. You'll smash your head into a coin block and run around. Oh, and you can't forget about Gold Mario, which, by the way, is still one of the most powerful power-ups Mario's ever had. But besides that, there's really not much to say about the game itself. I was just playing through it as usual and wasn't struggling at any point. Even Carl Taro was losing his mind with his notes. Look, this one just says,
Reznor! Yeah, woo!
oh, look, here's another one.
Reznor! Yeah, he kicked your ass!
2 Reznor fights. And I died. Wow.
Dude, hot tamale!
You know, what's up with Reznor anyway? I mean, sure, it's neat that he made a cameo, but did he really need to be half the boss fights? And they don't even have his name on the Ferris wheel thing like they do in the original. It looks more bland and uninspired now. There was something else being stirred in this marathon pot that I didn't quite expect. Simple was actually pretty far behind now. My theory of getting a lead from these games has actually become reality. I was starting to believe that I had a good shot at beating him, but I didn't want to assume that yet. We still had quite a ways to go. After several hours, we took out Bowser yet again, and oh man, look at him. Woo! He's slapping those platforms like nobody has before. Oh! And then I plowed through the special worlds. After that, I just needed to grind out a bunch of lives, and I wasn't sure what the best strategy was for doing that. So I did what made most sense, looked it up on YouTube real quick, and the man, the myth, the legend appeared on my screen. It was Nico BBQ, baby. He had a short that showed me how to get a bunch of lives in this game, so using his strategy, I got 1,000 lives in about 15 minutes. Next was unlocking the rainbow levels. In order to do this, I need to finish a level in the double digits that corresponds with the world itself. So to unlock the rainbow stage in World 1, I need to finish with 11 on the timer, and then World 2 is 22, and so on and so forth. The rainbow stages are nothing special, they're just another way to quickly rack up coins if you need them. After getting all those, all I had left to tackle was the DLC. This is probably the most interesting part of the game, but also the most disappointing. While it's really neat a bunch of bonus levels were added, they're just kind of fine. They don't have unique themes or anything. Like, they just kind of exist. Now, I did like the Gold Classic Pack since it remixes a bunch of older stages, and there are a handful of levels that have cool ideas, but these are basically just more levels. The last thing I did today was attempt the Impossible Pack. I had already been playing all day, so I didn't make any progress, but I knew I was in for quite the punch tomorrow. But what has Simple been up to? Did he catch up, perhaps? Well, he kinda did. For whatever reason, he spent about 5 hours farming coins for, no reason. Now ask yourself, why did he waste such a large amount of time in a marathon? Was he giving up? Maybe he was confident he could catch up and secure the win regardless? The world will never know. I was pretty tired today, but also feeling determined. I've never actually beaten the Impossible Pack, so it was going to be my first time today. These 3 levels that I have to conquer are all insanely difficult and frustrating. The first level starts off okay. You're just in some water and you got some fish to avoid. But after that, you're on this Ferris wheel thing that only moves when you stand on the sides, and you have to avoid bob-ombs that randomly fall out of pipes while also avoiding tons of birds and Lekatu. This segment is so difficult because the ground is constantly shifting, so it's really hard to figure out how to jump around all the enemies at any given time. And as if that wasn't enough, there's one more segment with a bunch of Hammer Bros and Chain Chomps. Then the second level has tons of tight wall jumps, while also being forced to avoid fire amps that chase you around the whole time. The third and final level is the hardest of them all. Poison constantly rises and falls, covering the entire course every few seconds. You need to jump off these note blocks at just the right time to survive, while also avoiding a barrage of enemies. And let's keep in mind that you get no power-ups. The only forgiveness is an occasional checkpoint flag that gives you 1 hit point. So you're really left on your own to battle these stages. For the first stage, the best and only strategy you can do is steal Lekatu's Cloud with a Bob-omb. Because if you don't, then a Spiney's gonna eventually hit you. Everything else just comes down to reflexes and understanding how the enemies work. I'm just gonna damage boost now. Okay, well that'll never happen again. As for the second level, I don't really have strategies for this one either. The only thing I can say is you have to find a path that works for you, as there's several to pick from. But eventually... Yes! Oh! Okay. Done! I managed to beat it. The third level is so irritating. You have to land in very specific spots on the note blocks and get the right height in your jumps to survive. After more attempts than I'm willing to admit, I finally had the run. I'm just gonna go, f it. Oh my god, it's over! Why didn't I just do that before? And that wraps up New Soup 2. I spent a total of 12 hours and 1 minute on it. But we're not done yet! Now it's time for New Super Mario Bros. U. In order to 100% this one, I need to beat all 82 levels, collect all 246 star coins, and unlock all 12 secret exits. I also need to catch Nabbit once in the first 7 worlds, and beat the Boost Rush and Challenge Mode levels. The only thing that isn't required is getting gold medals in Challenge Mode, seeing as you don't unlock anything doing so. Since we're finally allowed to pick multiple characters, I let chat pick who to play as, and they all went with Blue Toad. So shoutouts to all the Blue Toad fans out there, I got your back. I'll also note that I'm technically playing the Switch version just for convenience sake, but the base game is virtually the same as it is on the Wii U. What's there to even say about this game? I don't know. The twirl move is back. Let's see. Yeah, there's that. Well, the acorn suit, that's kind of cool. Yep. Wow, this really is just another New Soup game. And to think I was calling the Wii version slow too. Just look at this cutscene. Okay, cool. Come on. Oh my god, hurry it up. Oh my, yes, I get it. Oh my, get to the point. Oh my god, come on! I see what we're doing. Can the cutscene just end? 4 games into this, and I'm really feeling the drag now. The only interesting thing about getting 100% is catching Nabbit in all the worlds. All you do is find the level he's in and catch him. The point of this is to get an extra star in the save file, and that's literally it. But how is Simple doing? Well, he's still working on the Impossible Pack in New Soup 2, and at this point, I'm around World 6. Maybe grinding for all those coins was worth it after all. He's probably just powering up right now. Meanwhile, I was finishing up New Mario U without any troubles. It's all the same song and dance at this point. There's no surprises when it comes to how progression is carried out or how general level design is displayed. Superstar Road was the only part of the game where I had a few struggles here and there. But for the most part, I was just playing along, trying to finish as soon as possible. But I do have to admit that it still took most of the day to finish, because these are incredibly long-feeling games. Mario Bros. U ended up taking 9 hours and 13 minutes. I'm kind of surprised I had the energy to finish that while also beating the Impossible Pack earlier today. So after Mario U, I decided to start the next game before tackling Boost Rush in the challenge mode. And that, of course, is New Super Luigi U. In order to 100% this one, it's the same requirements as before. Beat all 82 levels, collect all 246 star coins, unlock all 12 secret exits, and catch Nabbit once in the first 7 worlds. There is nothing different at all besides the level design itself. All the levels here are much shorter and more tightly condensed, which is fantastic, because it means I'll be able to plow through Luigi U slightly faster than Mario U, assuming I don't get stuck in any of the levels for too long. But I had been going for at least
Bounce back fast from heartburn with new Tums Gummy Bites and love food back.
12 hours, so I only did a few stages before hitting the hay.
Oh yeah.
Guys, we're already at Luigi U, and it's day 11. I think we're somehow going to finish this entire marathon before the 2 weeks is over, but again, I don't want to speak too soon. I could still get stuck in Luigi U, as a handful of these stages are kind of tough, and the challenge mode is also massive, but I guess we'll just have to see. Simple Flips also managed to finish all of Mario Bros. U, which is pretty nuts because he was a bit behind, so a massive dub for him for making so much headway. Even though I was exhausted from being a degenerate for 11 days straight, I was pretty pumped to be this close to the end of the marathon. It was going over so much better than I anticipated, which made me really happy and relieved. And man, it was so nice to be playing short levels. Something else I feel like should be mentioned is just how awful some of the secret exits and star coin placements are. For whatever reason, Mario U and Luigi U are obsessed with hiding the secrets behind platforms. Ground pound through blocks you can't see. Walk through this wall. Like, it feels extremely excessive in these 2 games in particular, and I don't know why. Was it maybe because New Soup 2 and New Soup U were developed and released in the same year and the developers didn't have enough time to create more clever secrets? Possibly, but I can't say for sure. Something that was really funny was that when I was getting food, I let a cutscene play out, and without realizing, it started an airship level, and I actually managed to get a star coin by doing absolutely nothing. Something else I started doing was using my P-Wings. If I died in a level, say 2 or 3 times, I just said F it and fired up the P-Wing. Is it a bit cheese? It sure is, but as someone that has done nothing but play New Soup for days on end, I am perfectly with grating the P-Wing cheese for all it's worth. But I did actually struggle a bit on a level in World 5. This poison is constantly rising, and you have to jump off wigglers to survive. There's a star coin that's trapped behind these blocks, and you can't ground pound through them, so you're forced to throw a Koopa shell at the block. This took me quite a few tries, just because I was really feeling fatigued in general. After that, everything was going okay, but World 8 had a few more tough star coins. The one with a numbered conveyor belt was so stupid. I was probably doing something wrong here, but it took me forever to collect this one. After that, the only level I was worried about was the one near the end, and that was Fire Bar Sprint. This level is filled with fire bars, and the only way you can clear it is by running the whole time and jumping perfectly. However, you have to wait a tiny bit of time before you start running, because if you mess up the timing, you're gonna get hit a bunch of times and lose out on the 3rd star coin. But by some miracle, I managed to actually clear this level and get all the star coins on my 2nd attempt. I don't know how, again, it just felt like dumb luck, but I'll take it. The rest of this final world went well too. There was a few dumb deaths here and there, but I somehow managed to finish New Luigi U in a decent time, which is great. And funny enough, I've never 100% Luigi U in my entire life, so I've never seen the final level before, and it's pretty darn neat. I like how you just skydive the whole way down. So while the base game's I'm not done yet. No, I haven't even started Boost Rush mode yet, which is what I'm tackling next. I've actually never played these either, so I had no idea what I was in for. After about 5 minutes though, I figured out the concept. It's a bunch of random stages that are recycled from the main game, but they turn them into auto-scrollers. The more coins you get, the faster the auto-scroll goes. At first, I thought this was kind of boring, but once that scrolling gets fast, the game can get pretty intense. I actually had a lot of fun playing through all the levels in this one. It was strangely refreshing. So after like an hour or so, I finished that up and started the last objective, Challenge Mode. Challenge Mode is by far the best part of New Soup U. do, is what we have here are a ton of challenges that drastically change how you play through a stage. Some challenges want you to go as fast as possible, some want you to avoid all coins, or kill all the enemies, or avoid touching the ground, etc, etc. There's even one where you're supposed to balance on a rock for a certain amount of time. For like 90% of the challenges, I was beating them on the first or second try, but there's a few of them that had me stumped for at least 20 to 30 minutes, and I love that. It's so weird to actually be challenged in a Mario game, but next thing I knew, it was over. I actually finished New Super Luigi U and all the challenges. I never felt like I was going to escape this series, but it's over and I can actually move on. And if you're wondering, it took 11 hours and 15 minutes. And now to move on to Super Mario Bros. Wonder. To 100% this one, I need to beat all 129 levels, collect all 225 Wonder Seeds, and 306 10 Flower Coins. I also need to touch the top of every flagpole, find all 11 secret exits, collect/buy all 24 badges, and purchase all 144 standees. This seems like it's going to be the longest game of the bunch, but I really don't think that's going to be the case. After staring at some of the blandest games of all time, diving into Mario Bros. Wonder for the very end was a surreal experience. Finally, I can play as a goddamn elephant while collecting seeds that mess up the levels, and there's wonderful talking flowers. I actually changed the language of the flowers a bunch because why not, right? While this is a pretty meaty game, I had a couple of ideas to optimize my time playing it. Something I ran into playing for the first time was maxing out my purple coins. I actually want to prevent that as much as possible. So what I did was make sure I was constantly spending my coins on Wonder Seeds and badges when I got the worlds, but also spent a lot on Standees Surprise. This is a cheaper way to get standees compared to buying them in the special world, but the big difference is I can get duplicate standees if I'm not careful. But with 144 standees, I started to use Standees Surprise to save money and time, and actually managed to get around 50 to 60 before I was running into multiple duplicates in a row. So I believe just doing that is going to save a ton of time. But I made it to World 2 and called it for the night. I have no idea how long today is going to last, but I am determined to play this game until I get 100% even if it destroys my sleep schedule. Simple Flips finished Luigi U in the challenges last night, so both of us are on the last game. The only difference is Simple streamed for 19.5 hours finishing. That is much later than he usually streams, so he'd be starting Mario Wonder much later today. So I was about to get a massive lead on him, and potentially beat the entire game before he even starts. But what really mattered at this point was just making progress and keeping my head straight. The only thing now is that I'm just so tired of streaming and playing games. It's going to be really nice to have a bit of a break when this is all over, but we're almost at the end. Something that's really nice about this game is that if you die and get a 10 flower coin, it still saves as long as you finish the level. It's a really nice quality of life feature, and no timer is a huge plus as well. The best part of today, though, was talking about Shrek with the chat. There's rumors that Shrek 5 is coming soon, and I'm honestly pretty hyped for it if I'm going to be honest. So for like 20 minutes, we just talked about which Shrek movie is the best. And look, I've got an official ranking for the series that I'm going to be releasing now to the public from worst to best. Okay, here we go. Shrek the Third, Shrek Forever After, Shrek, and Shrek 2. It's the only correct way to rank these films, and you can't tell me otherwise. But yeah, by the time I got to World 3 and 4, I made my way to the standee shop in the special world to start spending coins on the individual standees. Even though they cost 30 purple coins compared to 10, not getting duplicates makes it worth it, and I've already collected so many as is. But from that point, I was schmooving through Wonder. I was actually surprised at how quickly you can get through the worlds if you get all the secrets you need in one go. After about another 3 to 4 hours, I made it to the final Bowser fight. The bosses are by far the most disappointing aspect of Mario Wonder, but at least this final boss is super memorable. It's not hard in the slightest, but what Mario game has ever had a hard boss? Exactly. After beating him, all I had to do was buy the rest of the badges, finish 2 more levels, and start farming coins for the rest of the standees. The last 2 levels are some of my favorites the game has to offer. Wonder Gauntlet throws a ton of wonder effects at you, and the way it's all compiled together is a lot of fun. I also somehow survived this bad jump. I wall jumped for like 30 seconds, and then out of nowhere, I was on the ground safe and sound. But now, onto the final test badge marathon. This is the most difficult level in the game, and it tests you on your skill with most of the badges. I really wish more levels in Mario Wonder had this kind of difficulty, or at least a more heavy focus on specific badges, because this level is incredibly satisfying. There's a couple sections in particular that are really tough, the hardest ones being the spring feet and invisibility. Timing your jumps to these fire bars is super precise, and then just trying to figure out where you are with invisibility is hard too. But it's not even that this section is hard, it's the fact that it's at the very end. If you die, you gotta go back a few sections before trying it again. And if you don't get the gold flagpole at the end, you'll have to play the entire level over to get it if you want 100%. But luckily, I've played this game a lot the past month, so I was pretty accustomed to what was coming. And I think I spent maybe, I don't know, 30 to 40 minutes before finishing. It still took me a while, but it wasn't nearly as daunting as I expected. After that, I started replaying the Sugar Star trial over and over, and that's because I need purple coins, and I can get 30 for every run through. But that's when I realized that all the bonus levels get unlocked after beating the game, and doing those net you way more purple coins. So I quickly played through those, and that alone almost gave me enough standees to finish. Well, back to the Sugar Star trial for a bit. I did that, went back to the standees, bought the last standee, and oh my god, it's over! Holy crap, I actually 100% all the 2D Mario games in less than 2 2 weeks. I can't believe it was possible. And it only took me 9 hours and 44 minutes. And what a relief it was to be finished. We completed this challenge with 2 days, 16 hours, and 26 minutes left, meaning that this challenge took me 11 days, 7 hours, and 34 minutes. And Simple Flips didn't take much longer either. He also managed to 100% the entire game in one stream. So both of us finished in under 2 weeks. This was a crazy, exhausting, but also enjoyable grind. And I'm excited to do the next one. We're finally going to tackle 2D Sonic next, so with that, I'll see you next time. You might think that 100%ing every Mario Kart in 1 week would be a breeze, right? Well, in reality, it was incredibly mind-numbing, frustrating, and even caused me physical injuries. But how is that even possible? I mean, it's just Mario Kart. You just have to get first place in the Grand Prix, right? So the answer isn't quite that simple, because oftentimes getting 100% takes an extremely long period of time. After making way more food compared to last time, I was ready to go. This is my journey. So here's my new timer. It's actually going to count down this time, and boom, I officially have less than 7 days to finish every Mario Kart game. Let's do this! Doki! Oh, Peachy! Starting with our first day is Super Mario Kart. In order to 100% this one, I simply need to get a gold medal in all the cups, 50, 100, and 150cc. In other words, I have to play well for 60 races. This is easier said than done because Super Mario Kart goes out of its way to make your life miserable. In fact, I've never fully beaten this game because of its difficulty and how unforgiving it can be. I'm playing each of these games on official releases and have decided to play the first 3 Mario Karts on Switch Online for convenience. And yes, I use the SNES controller the whole time so it feels as authentic as possible. Now, on to the game itself. It's by far one of the worst aged games on the SNES. Maybe that's a hot take, but no matter how many times I pick this game up, I can never get used to the controls. Moving feels so slippery, and the track selection is so boring. There's like 3 Bowser Castles, 4 Mario Circuits, 2 Koopa Beaches. I really don't have an affinity with Super Mario Kart, but that doesn't matter, because I was on a mission. The goal today was to 100% Super Mario Kart 64, and get a start on Super Circuit. I was feeling pretty good, and really tried to have a positive headspace. When I marathoned the 3D Mario games, I got negative really quickly, and it made the week not very fun. But this time, I was feeling great. I'm expecting to struggle at the end of this game, but more than determined to complete Super Mario Kart as fast as I was able to. But within like 30 minutes, things were already starting to heat up. The main issue that makes this game so infuriating to play are the computers, and that's because these bastards cheat. And I'm not even exaggerating. They have an infinite amount of items, and they rubber band. If you're not sure what rubber banding is, well, basically, it's the game's method to creating difficulty. If you're too far ahead in the race, the game doesn't like that, and the racers will quickly speed up and get right behind you or even pass you. And as for the item problem, oh my god. Mario and Luigi use stars, Peach and Toad use a poison mushroom, Yoshi an egg, Bowser and DK a fireball, and Koopa a green shell. The CPUs can use these particular items whenever they feel like it. They don't have to hit the item space to get the items, they just have them. In what world is that supposed to be fair at all? And the CPUs can also pass through obstacles, like Bowser just phases through this thwomp like it's nothing. For someone that doesn't actively play Super Mario Kart, it is incredibly unfair. And I get this is an old game and BS challenge was just the norm back then, but playing in the current time period is such a pain. But anyway, we quickly made our way to the point that I've never passed, 100cc Special Cup. Yep, I've never even tried 150cc because I couldn't unlock it. That's how brutal Super Mario Kart is. But my spirits were high, and while I was struggling, I actually managed to pull through for the first time in my life. Here we go. Gameplay and watch this. Boom! Okay, second place! Yes! Yes! Oh my god! You know this game is hard when I'm popping off at 100cc. As soon as I started 150cc, I ran into problems. Literally, the first stage I was ranking out because the other racers were just faster. Why were they faster? I don't know, because cheating makes them feel good? And I don't think I was making any mistakes, they just kept passing me for no reason. What? What? He just jumped over my red shell? Like I said, this game cheats and all you can do is outbeat the cheater. And the SNES controller that I was just praising is now starting to hurt my thumbs. It's not exactly the worst thing ever, but it made playing a bit more unpleasant. I guess maybe the issue was that I was pushing too hard on the button because of how intense the game is? I'm not really sure. I was kind of surprised to be experiencing pain at all. But that was the least of my worries. 150cc was kicking my ass, and I had to retry tracks several times because the CPUs were ramming me into corners, I got hit by one item. Basically, anything that qualifies as a mistake makes it impossible to secure first or second. Koopa Beach 2 was by far the worst. There are so many water pits you can fall into, and doing so means you lose automatically. Now, maybe I just don't know how to play this, and that's probably true to some extent, but I was seriously raging. I get mad at games sometimes, but this particular stage made me so mad that I was uncomfortable watching what I sounded like back over, so I'll just say that it took me a solid hour to finally clear this. So much for being in a good headspace, but I know I'll feel a lot better once I get to Double Dash. Despite the seething anger and sheer desperation to escape Super Mario Kart, I was making progress, and eventually I cleared the final cup in 150cc. Thank freaking God. Next up was Mario Kart 64, and yes, I busted out the N64 controller for this one, so it feels like the original. To 100% this one, it's the exact same process, but with one extra thing, Extra Mode. I basically need to complete 64 races. Now, I grew up with this Mario Kart, and I'll always have a soft spot for it, but I also know that it can be unfair as well. The item spawns aren't as much of an issue, but the rubber banding is so bad at the harder levels. But starting up, of course, was 50cc, and this had to have been the first time I played this game at 50cc since I was like 8 years old. And my goodness, did it feel so slow. And that's when I came to the realization that 50 and 100cc were gonna feel like a slog for the rest of these Mario Karts because I'm so used to the faster speeds. But honestly, after the torture that was Super Mario Kart, it was kind of nice to have a breather and get used to Mario Kart 64's controls again. I did not have this luxury when marathoning the 3D Mario games. It was action-packed the whole time with very little breaks, so this will be a very different experience overall. Now, this game has aged okay. The tracks are great, and I love the characters' voices to death, but that's about the only highlights. The red shells still don't work that well, but at least the CPUs aren't jumping over them, thank God, so this still feels like it's going to be slightly easier. In terms of how to fend off the rubber banding, well, it kind of just comes down to your item luck. I mean, seriously, the CPUs will pass you and zoom ahead if you don't consistently get shells of bananas to hit them. In some aspects, this is kind of fun because you have to put in the effort to use your items properly, but it's not fun when you get a mushroom or something completely useless and the CPUs zoom ahead and there's nothing you can do about it. But in general, I didn't have that many problems getting golds this time, except for one course, Toad's Turnpike in Extra Mode, because the cars and trucks drive towards you and good frickin' luck avoiding them. If you get hit by one, you'll get hit by multiple in a row because you have no invincibility frames. But who cares? I managed 100% Mario Kart 64 and it's 1 in the morning, oh boy. I did start later in the day, but I was kind of hoping to make more progress in Super Circuit. So I basically just did 1 cup of that and then went to bed. So overall, a fairly frustrating day, but I know that after I get through Super Circuit, it's gonna be smooth sailing. So, Mario Kart Super Circuit. The process to getting 100% just might be the most difficult and obnoxious task of any Mario Kart to ever exist. For every cup, we need to secure a 3-star rank, a common thing in the modern era, but this was the first title to include them. We also have to get 100 coins or more for each cup to unlock the extra cups, and those extra cups just so happen to be the Super Mario Kart tracks, which means I need to complete 180 races. You can tell how excited I am about this ordeal, can't you? I'm just stoked. At first, I thought getting 3 stars would be a piece of cake. I also wanted to get 100 coins on my first run so that I would unlock the extra cup faster, so I was just playing along, and on the first cup, I played basically flawless. I got a ton of coins and did everything right, yet I got 2 stars. Huh, that's strange. I didn't make any mistakes, so I'm not sure why that happened. So I moved on to the next cup, and I got 3 stars this time. What did I do differently? I have no idea. And that's the problem. I'm gonna explain how the star system works in a bit, but while I was playing this, it seemed completely random if I would get 1 to 3 stars per cup. So this in turn made it feel like I needed to play perfectly no matter what, and that became more and more of a problem with the faster speeds and harder tracks. I kept resetting over and over again if I would make one tiny error, and after a while, it was starting to drive me crazy. Not because I felt like I was playing bad, but because I had to play like a task bot. And even when I was playing what I believed to be perfect, I still wasn't getting 3 stars. I finished 50cc, I got 100 coins in every cup, and then I didn't unlock the extra cup. That's strange. Maybe I'm supposed to also do this for 100 and 150cc as well? So that's exactly what I did. I struggled through all those tracks again, barely squeezing out 1 or 2 star ranks, and I still didn't unlock the extra tracks. And that's when I found out that you are forced to play the cups twice. On the second playthrough, you can unlock the extra cup, and only for that CC. So that means I had to play 50, 100, and 150cc 2 times over just to unlock the extra tracks, which by the way, I still had to play all of those as well. And that wouldn't normally be a problem except that I'm on a time limit and I'm trying to get 3 stars, so I'm constantly restarting tracks over and over again. But now, let's talk about the star ranking system. This is one of the most cryptic, obnoxious, and downright evil systems I've ever seen put into play for a racing game. So the way the star ranks works is based on how many skill points you have by the end of the cup. What allows you to increase or decrease these points? That's where things get interesting, because there are a ton of variables put into play. For starters, the character you pick will award you different amounts of skill points. Bowser gives you 45, DK and Wario 40, Mario and Luigi 30, Peach and Toad 10, and Yoshi 0. This is based on how easy they are to control, so there's some risk and reward factor here. It also depends on what CC you're playing at, so the higher the difficulty, the less skill points you'll get. But that's just the absolute basics of this system. What happens in the race itself can drastically affect your rank. So what can you do to gain more skill points? You can collect coins, run through item boxes while your slots are full, get hit by lightning, and go fast as shit. These 4 variables are the only things you can use to get more skill points, and most of them are completely arbitrary. Like, why does it matter if I'm holding onto items or not? And it's more cryptic than that, because not all items that are held count as being held. Triple green and triple red shells do not count as a held item because you're technically not holding the item button, so it's actually really bad when you get those 2 items. And then there's the factor of getting hit by lightning. You know how rare of an occurrence that is in Super Circuit? That's so unfair, because you actually get a ton of skill points from something that happens at complete random. But what kinds of things takes away your skill points? Well, I hope you're ready, because I have a long list of crap, so here we go. You can lose skill points by being off-road, not accelerating, braking, using triple red shells, using lightning, using stars, hitting enemies or items on the road, spinning out, bumping into a wall, using a rocket star, and Legato rescuing you from falling. I kid you not, all of these variables can make you lose skill points. I mean, no wonder it's so hard to get 3 stars. Let's just go over some of these, like not accelerating, using my brakes. Are you kidding me? Why the hell should that matter at all? This is a racing game. Every race is different, so naturally I'm gonna be forced to play every race slightly differently. And then there's the matter of the items. Using lightning, stars, or red shells as a detriment is complete crap because you have no control what items you receive. I mean, hell, I've gotten stars in 2nd place tons of times in Super Circuit. So what am I supposed to do about that? And then there's hitting enemies or items on the road, spinning out, and Legato rescuing us. I think those factors are fine, although bumping into walls is so petty if you ask me. Then there's using a rocket start. That is so contradicting considering the game wants you to finish laps fast. How am I supposed to do that when I'm discouraged to use the rocket start? And what's crazy is I have never seen anyone talk about how BS this system is, so I'm glad to be sharing it with everyone now because god damn. So I basically figured out this whole star rank system about an hour or so into playing, and that's why I was so focused on playing like a pretty little princess. And guess what? This list of variables misses out on one key factor that also makes a big difference, and that is drifting. Because yes, you can drift in this game, but it's incredibly awkward to do and takes a ton of practice to get used to. It's similar to the other games where you have to jump and turn and then hold that pose for a bit to get a speed boost, so while I could technically drift, I did not have the skills to properly integrate it with my gameplay. It's hard to master because everything feels so slippery, so the drift was either way too sharp or too narrow, which both of these things cost me skill points. And the computers did not help matters either. While they technically don't rubber band, they are extremely aggressive and are still very difficult to deal with. I played this game for most of the day, and eventually I unlocked the extra tracks and I managed to get first place in every cup that I did, but did I get 3 stars? Nope, I gave up on that journey long ago. But you might be wondering, what exactly do you get with 3 stars? Oh, you didn't notice the difference? Wow, I'm shocked. You get a dark blue background instead of a light blue background. That is the reward. Yep, screw that crap. I completed everything else in this game aside from the completely outrageous star ranking system, so I hope you can understand. In fact, I've already 100%'d this game in the past. When I was in college, I read a forum on GameFAQs that said you could unlock Waluigi if you got 3-star ranks and everything, so I spent several days practicing and getting really good, and actually
we are always in motion. Getting this?
managed to get the stupid 3-star rank on everything. You can see it right here on my actual cart. But alas, I did not unlock Waluigi and was a little sad after all that effort. But that's okay, because it's all uphill from here. Next up was Mario Kart Double Dash, and there's only one way to play this one officially, and that's on an actual GameCube. So I apologize for the quality drop, but there's no other option. In order to 100% this one, I have to get gold in all cups, including the All Cup Tour in Mirror Mode. I just have to complete 96 races. It was also starting to get late already. I started Double Dash at like 8 p.m. after playing Super Circuit for most of the day, but that's okay. This is a good video game. The drifting is actually usable, the tracks are fun, the music is great, it still looks nice. I'm out of Mario Kart hell. Finally, I can have some fun again. My neck was starting to strain a bit from looking up at my TV that's too high, but I was feeling great, so I didn't care. One of the most nostalgic parts of Double Dash is, strangely enough, the unlock screens. It left a huge impression on me because of how exciting the moment is. You get this super chirpy music, a big and bright notification, and then you get to see exactly what you unlocked. It's much more impactful than most of the other Mario Kart titles, and it further drives you to keep playing the cups. Cups. And this game has by far the best final unlockable out of all the Mario Karts. When you finish a Grand Prix, it's celebrated with you driving around in this fancy golden parade car, and that's what you unlock at the very end. It's an awesome reward. The whole game is so rewarding, and thankfully, I didn't make any mistakes and got gold medals on everything on the first attempt. But even so, it was really getting late now, and I was getting exhausted, but I still wasn't done. I needed to make at least a tiny bit of headway into Mario Kart DS. To get 100%, as usual, I'll need to get gold medals in every cup, which includes 128 races, but I also have to get a 1-star ranking in every mission mode level so that I can unlock level 7, and then I have to beat all those levels, which gives us 63 total missions. So this game is a bit more involved and has more going on, but I'm pumped. Even though I was dead tired, I was so excited for the next day because this is by far my favorite Mario Kart and probably always will be. Today was going to be awesome. I get to fully replay Mario Kart DS, and the only culprit was that my thumb was starting to get sore, which is bizarre because I'm used to playing games for long periods of time, but I think the reason for that was because I was so intently mashing the buttons the first 2 days, and that was starting to catch up to me physically. So I have the neck strain and my thumbs hurt. What else could possibly happen? Well, not much today. I basically just cruised through the campaign in mission mode with no problem. The only thing I struggled with was the Ice Bully mission, because he likes to jump over you if you use your mushroom to hit him from too far away. So once I got past him, I was basically done. It still took most of the day because instead of 16 tracks per CC, it was 32, so I was doing a lot more races. But that's okay, because I didn't make any mistakes and didn't have to redo any of the Grand Prix. So as much as I'd like to gush about Mario Kart DS, it was truly a breeze in this marathon. And I still had a decent amount of time to tackle Mario Kart Wii. This one had a bit more intricacy with its unlockables too. I need to get a 1-star ranking on every single cup, which includes 128 races, and also unlock all 32 Expert Staff Ghost Data records in time trials. Before doing any Grand Prix, I actually completed 4 time trial races because that unlocks Funky Kong. And with Funky Kong, I can Donkey Kong the computers and make my way through the game with no pain. The Flame Runner and Funky are an infamous pair. They made Mario Kart Wii a lot of fun to play through. Although strangely, I didn't actually unlock Funky Kong until after completing one of the Grand Prix Cups, and I later figured out that I would have to back out of my save and then go back in to actually get my unlockables, and that's very bizarre, but that wasn't the only bizarre thing. After fully completing 50cc, it was only then that I had the option to use bikes and carts. Why on earth was I forced to use the carts then? Because Nintendo really wanted me to use both options? That's a bit of a strange choice, but it didn't matter. I was having fun again, so that's all I could really ask for. Despite feeling very fatigued from playing Mario Kart in general, at the very least I wasn't raging, so I'm fine with that. I ended up completing the time trial Ghost, and did a little bit of 100cc, so I actually made quite a bit of progress. But it was getting late, and I needed sleep. Going into day 4, I was once again excited about being able to finish Mario Kart Wii, because after this, there are only 2 more games. But these last 2 games, well, we'll get to those when we get there. But for now, I was continuing to just kind of cruise along. I was starting to struggle a bit more, but the star rank system is much more forgiving. I can get 2nd or 3rd place and still squeeze out a 1-star rank. And lucky for me, I had a save file of Super Mario Galaxy on the Wii U, so that let me unlock Rosalina way faster and didn't force me to get 1-star ranks in mirror mode. I did have to redo a couple of cups, but overall, things went pretty smoothly. The main hurdle for Mario Kart Wii is just how much random crap happens. It feels like a million items can be thrown at you at any time, but then it's usually easy to catch up, so it's not that big of a deal. I was also still having some neck and hand cramps, but I was feeling determined. All I had to do was keep chugging along because I was at a decent pace. Once I did finally finish all the cups, I checked the character select screen and found that I still didn't have Mii outfit beat, which is really strange because I beat every ghost in time trial. So I looked into it more, and you're not going to believe this, but you have to beat the ghost while also reaching an unlock time. All this really means is that for a couple of tracks, I didn't finish fast enough. In hindsight, this is incredibly confusing and makes no sense considering we're told we just had to beat the ghost, but basically, I just had to improve my times in N64 Sherbet Land as well as GBA Shy Guy Beach. After doing that, I finally unlocked that Mii costume and was able to move on. This was actually my first time 100%ing this game, so it felt great to finally do that. But this is just the start of our day, because next up is Mario Kart 8. Yeah, I'm saving Mario Kart 7 for last, and I'll tell you why later, but yes, we're busting out Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Now, I can see the 4 of you in the comments putting on your best nerd emoji face right now saying, aren't you supposed to beat Mario Kart 8 on the Wii U and the Deluxe one on the Switch? No, I'm not doing that. These are literally the same games, but the Deluxe version has more stuff in it, which makes it actually harder. And when it comes to getting 100%, the requirements change a lot compared to what we're used to. I actually don't need to play all the cups and their difficulties. No, I just have to get a 1-star rank or better in the base game Mirror Cups, and then gold in 200cc, which equates to than 96 races. Then I have to beat 48 base game staff ghosts and 150cc time trials, and the final requirement will be to collect 5,000 coins. The coins are where you unlock almost everything, because now we have tons of kart parts to get. I decided to start with 150cc mirror mode so I could start getting some coins for better kart parts, which in turn make the time trials easier. Then after that was 200cc, and I don't really like playing the game at this speed because a majority of the tracks just aren't built for how fast you go. I do love the thrill of it, and some tracks work well, but most of them don't, and it's a bit of a pain. But I was raking in tons of coins, which is great. I've been trying to get as many as possible before I start farming for coins because, yes, I'm literally gonna be coin farming in Mario Kart. But yeah, I pretty easily finished 200cc, I unlocked Gold Mario, and it was so cool. Oh my god, there he is. Wow, he's gold. And then I got started on time trials. And at this point, I'm actually really bored. And it's not even that the game... Okay, I'm not gonna lie, this game is starting to get boring. I want Mario Kart 9 already. But really, it's come down to the fact that I've been playing Mario Kart for 4 days straight, averaging 14 to 15 hours a day, so it's really getting to me. And there's just so many tracks in this game. I didn't even finish the time trials because there's just too many to do. I got over halfway through, and then hit the hay for the night. I started day 5 a little bit late, but I quickly finished the time trials and had one more mission, reach 5,000 coins. And in order to do that, I had a pretty killer strategy. Normally when you're racing, you can only get 10 coins at a time, which is incredibly slow for how many coins I need. So instead, we're going to be using battle mode because coins here also count towards my overall total. The plan was to use Renegade Roundup, turn off all CPUs but have player 2 on, set the round count to 24, and always pick Dragon Palace. With this method, I'm able to collect 10 coins very quickly and then end the game basically right afterwards. There's 2 different spawn points, and it also didn't matter if I got eaten or not, I still got the coins in the end. With both of these spawn points, I was able to finish a match anywhere from 18 to 20 seconds, and the only time I had to wait for anything was during the loading, so I was getting roughly 10 coins a minute. This is much faster than just doing races, considering each race takes around 2 minutes, and there's a high chance of getting hit by items and not coming out with 10 coins, and there's a reason I selected 24 rounds, and that's because, well, it's the most you can pick, but at the end, I'm forced to sit through the trophy screen and then make the whole setup again. While this process was fast, it was also incredibly dull. And not only was it dull, but there was no downtime. I had to actively be mashing the A button and trying to get coins as fast as possible. And this method took all day. My entire afternoon was tied up into doing just this, which drove me a little crazy after a while, but I'm so glad I did it. I was really tempted to play DLC stages to get coins because they would have been way more fun, but I'm so glad I didn't because Mario Kart 8 is the least of my worries. After a ton of time, I got the 5,000 coins and unlocked every single kart part in the game. So all that was left was the final game, Mario Kart 7. This absolute monster of a game is asking a task so absurd that I can't believe Nintendo actually went through with it. So, to get 100%, we need to beat all the cups, which is 128 races, but we also need to complete 100 races with gyro controls and use that gyro for 80% of it. It's a bit of an odd unlockable. The thing you unlock is just a golden steering wheel that goes away if you don't continue using gyro, but I'm gonna get it anyway just for the sake of it. But are you ready to hear what the final 100% achievement is? We need to collect 20,000 coins. Has Nintendo completely lost their mind? Like, how on earth am I supposed to get that many coins in less than 2 days? Now, you might be thinking that there's some sort of coin farming strategy I can use, right? Well, I tried just about everything that you possibly could, and nothing worked. The first thing I tried was battle mode because there's coin runners. I got 10 coins there, finished the battle, and it doesn't add to my coin counter. So then I thought that maybe I could use the local multiplayer. I tested it out with my super old 3DS capture card and discovered something incredible. I completed a race with 10 coins, left the match, and it actually added coins to my counter. So I grabbed all the 3DSs in my house and had a crazy idea. I got all of them turned on, connected every single one of them to my main 3DS's lobby, and I split us all into teams. On my team, I got 10 coins as myself, and 10 coins with everybody else also on my team. So I tried finishing the match, hoping that I'd get more than 10 coins because we're on a team, right? And then my counter didn't add up, it didn't work. It just didn't work. The last thing I tried was time trials, and yet again, the coins there didn't count. So what option does that leave us with? Well, we'll get to that at the end, but for now, I have gyro races to do. I've messed with this feature before, and it's kind of neat, but it has a lot of inherent flaws. For one, it's super awkward to drift with, and two, I can't see anything around me. It was really easy to get hit by items that were passing me because I wasn't able to see them coming. Drifting is awkward because you don't feel or see the impact of the drift. Your kart just kind of starts turning sharper, and that's all the feedback you get out of it. I played through a large chunk of the campaign and almost finished the entire thing. I only had 4 cups to go, and was gonna have to finish them tomorrow since it was extremely late. And then after that, the farming begins. only 2 days left of this marathon. And honestly, I was still feeling pretty good, but I had a sinking feeling that this challenge was going to be completely impossible. Today is the day that I can ultimately find out as I finished getting my gold steering wheel. Wow, that was truly worth it. Look at that. And then I finished up the rest of the cups and I began the coin farm. Now, what exactly is the most optimal way to get coins? Well, I don't have a scientifically 100% perfect route, but I believe I found the fastest and most consistent method. I played the Shell Cup, got 10 coins in a race, and then hid somewhere until the computers finish. I did that for all 4 races and just repeated over and over and over again. Now, I can imagine that you're thinking that this is an incredibly mind-numbing task and there must be a faster way, and I do agree this was super mind-numbing, but no, I'm pretty sure this is actually the way to go. And the reason for that is because with this method, I'm always guaranteed 10 coins per race. If I try to do these races normally, the odds of me finishing a race with less than 10 coins is extremely high because of how often you get knocked around with items. And also, the computers are generally very close behind me, so it doesn't really waste that much time waiting for all 7 of them to finish 3 laps compared to me finishing in first place. So that is exactly what I did. And I'm pretty sure the Shell Cup could be completed the fastest as it generally took around 13 to 14 minutes per cup. That means I was getting around 160 coins an hour. Yeah, that's a pretty far shot compared to Mario Kart 8's 600 coins an hour. Not only was this process slower, but I needed 4 times the amount of coins. But I had a lot of time to just farm coins, and that's why I saved this for last. I knew this was going to take an absurd amount of time, and wanted to finish the other games before getting to this one. So once I would get my 10 coins per race, I basically had nothing to do for about 1 to 2 minutes. So what exactly did I do? Well, not much. Let's see, I made this thumbnail for the video. I bought a bunch of games on eBay. Here they are if you're curious. It's just a bunch of Game Boy Color and 3DS titles I've been wanting. What else did I do? Went on Twitter, watched some YouTube videos. Yep, that's about it. I was getting incredibly bored, but there's nothing I can do here. I was getting coins as fast as possible, and that process kept giving me these tiny gaps of time to do things. And also, red alert, I have officially run out of food. But later this day, I actually fired up Mario Kart Super Circuit again. And that's because I technically didn't get the 3-star rankings. So I thought that, hey, maybe I can try to do that while also playing this game. I played Super Circuit for about an hour, and I didn't get a single 3-star rank in any of the cups I tried. And honestly, it was because I was getting distracted by Mario Kart 7. I had to keep pausing Super Circuit so I could mash A on the 3DS and keep getting coins. So it was an attempt, but I wasn't able to get really immersed into Super Circuit and just gave up on that. But now that an entire day of this painstakingly long coin farming has ended, how many coins did I end up getting? Well, okay, I technically didn't farm them for the whole day, but I was curious, and guess what my total was? 2,712. After all of that, we're about 10% of the way there.
Mr. Mario, the best!
Well, today is sure going to be one of the days of all time. I am so excited. The only thing that I have to do is farm coins and nothing else. So what on earth am I supposed to do to keep myself entertained? I'm kind of going insane staring at the same 4 tracks over and over again with no relief from it. So you know what I did? I said screw it and fired up Danganronpa. I started this game like a month ago and I'm at chapter 3 now. And honestly, a game like this is kind of perfect for the marathon. It looks like a visual novel, and it kind of is, but really it's a murder mystery similar to the Ace Attorney games that tells one of the most gripping stories I've ever heard from a game, period. You're a bunch of high school students and you're going to this school, Hope's Peak Academy, and then boom, everyone passes out, and the next thing you know, there's this talking bear, Monokuma, and he tells all the students that basically to escape the school, you gotta murder each other and get away with it. So this group of students is kind of like teaming up, but they're also scared of each other. Then a bunch of murders happen and everyone goes on trial, and holy f***, the music slaps in this part. And from there, you play mini games while solving the case and figuring out who is the killer, and then Monokuma punishes the killer in the most absurd ways possible. And sorry. Anyway, back to Mario Kart 7. We got 4,500 coins after several hours, which is nice, cool, but the last non-gold cart piece is at 5,000, and wow, we got 5,000, and that gives us the Beast Glider. And speaking of Beast, Byakuya slays at solving mysteries, but he's a snarky asshole. I mean, all the characters are filled with life and personality, despite that you only ever see them in 2D, and I love how the game makes that so obvious when you're running around the school and see the characters in 2D while in the 3D space. But my god, I finished Danganronpa, and I cannot believe that it made me question my morality of hope and despair. Just like this challenge I'm doing. Do you fight for hope or fight for despair? Monokuma makes some sound arguments despite also being a complete psychopath. Like, Danganronpa made me upset watching a literal laptop get destroyed. How do you even achieve something like that? That's incredible. I just can't believe how great the game is. And I'm so excited to play the second and third one, but my bad, guys, sorry. Look, while I was grinding for coins in Mario Kart 7, this is literally all I was doing, was just playing that game. But moving on, the time is up, the whole week is over, and the truth is about to be revealed. How many coins did we actually get after dozens of hours of grinding? 5,984 coins. That's it, 5,984. so the challenge wasn't possible. And also, by the way, 2 hours before this marathon was over, I sprained my ankle by running down the stairs after getting some food, so I wasn't able to walk for a few days. So it's safe to say that this marathon put me in more physical pain than I could have imagined. But how long did each game take individually? Super Mario Kart was 4 hours 54 minutes, Mario Kart 64 4 hours 30 minutes, Super Circuit 9 hours 20 minutes, Double Dash 4 hours 46 minutes, DS 7 hours 36 minutes, Wii 10 hours 36 minutes, 7 37 hours 28 minutes, and 8 Deluxe 13 hours 37 minutes. So as you can see, we did a lot of gaming. And I'm not done with these marathons yet, because next time, I'll be doing this with a certain blue blur. I'll let you decipher who that might be. Sonic. Alright, it'll come out shortly after Sonic Superstars, okay?